And we're live.
All right.
Welcome to the Keeping Tabs podcast. Please introduce yourself.
I am Brett Green. I'm a physical therapist here in Denver, Colorado. And I'm here to talk about health and fitness and whatever the fuck else these guys want to talk about.
Nice. I have a question. I was seeing a physical therapist a couple days ago, like the massage therapist at the poker games is also like a physical therapist. And she was stretching me, and it was taking everything inside of me not to let one rip. How often are you working on somebody and they just fucking let one go?
Yeah. That's that definitely happens. It definitely happens, especially in older populations, I would say.
Do they act like nothing happened?
Dude, yeah, most of the time.
Most of the time it's just everybody, both people know, but you just pretend like.
I mean, think like somebody's on their stomach, you're pressing on their back, and yeah, you produce pressure for sure. You definitely do.
Yeah, it took everything. I was like, she's like good looking. I'm like, just don't fart in front of this chick, dude. Just don't do it. And then she's like, is that working? I'm like, uh-huh.
It's great.
Pretty awkward. I didn't fart though. I held it in. And then as soon as she left, I was like, I just let it.
At what age do people start just not caring?
Yeah, probably the same age as like in a locker room when you don't give a fuck anymore.
He's getting there. I think you might already be there.
I'm close.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple more years. A couple more failed relationships, and then it's just like, who cares anymore?
Yeah.
I probably got one or two left in me.
I was thinking about what you were saying about relationships the other day. I'll bring it up later. You remember when you were talking about how you like to see your ex on social media, and then you like to gauge how over them you are?
I wouldn't say I like to see them, but it's a good measurement for how over them I am. If I can see them like doing something with another dude and it doesn't have much effect on me, then I'm like, okay, I healed from that.
Because I thought you were saying that you like to see them happy. Like, oh, I hope they're happy.
Yeah, I like to tell myself that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I do.
Because I feel like that's more of just, I'm so sorry to hijack this whole interview, but I was like thinking that might have more to do with you like still having an attachment, because you're like romanticizing, oh, I'm a good person. And so like, but like, I feel like the more neutral you are towards that situation.
When you truly love somebody, dude, even if like you let them go, like I don't want them to like struggle and have a terrible life. I mean, I might want my life to be slightly better. Or maybe want them to look at me and be like, oh.
But doesn't that...
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's probably narcissistic or something. I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like, I can't think of a single ex that if I saw happy, I'd be like, bitch. And it's like, good for them, whatever.
Yeah, see, but like...
It's neutral, probably.
I was going to say, I think the best way to be over, like, know that you're over someone is to be completely neutral. Because you oscillate between like, oh, I hope their life's amazing. I hope they do great. And then I hope they... get fissures on their asshole and it fucking feels like they're wiping their ass with hydrochloric acid every time.
Yeah, but I'm not a neutral human being. I mean, I like to think that I am, but I swing.
Yeah,
I'm an emotional person who swings.
Are you emotional? Or are you more of a thinker? Like, where do you fall in that?
I'm pretty in the middle. I feel like it takes a lot for me to feel emotions a little bit more intensely, and then I'll talk about it if I do. I also find that, man, if you wait like 24 to 48 hours, things really cool off and you don't really care anymore.
So you just have to have the presence of mind at that moment in time to just be like, all right, I got to wait.
Yeah, or I just rant about it. And then after that, I don't care.
Does the physical therapist like hit the gym? Does that help?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, so what are the biggest mistakes that people tend to make that you can think of in rehab or physical therapy, aside from just like not following orders and paying attention?
Yeah, good question. I would begin with the idea that correlation is causation. And I know that's like really simple, that is oftentimes discussed in science, but you see it all the time. We like to demonize problems that aren't actually problems. So, you come in and your knee hurts, and I guess from a PT perspective, this is looking at like the assessment, and you go through this whole thing and you're like, yeah, your knee hurts. And we've found now 9 different variables that could look like they're causing knee pain. And we forget that you ran 10 miles yesterday and tripped on the way there, and you were in a fight with your partner and you didn't sleep last night. And like, that's why your knee hurts. But we determine your knee hurt because your foot looked weird. And that happens all the time in PT.
Where do your clients come from? Is it like workman's comp stuff? Is it just personal? Because that's where you met Brett, right? Through after your shoulder surgery, helped you.
I got referred
rehab
by a doctor. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'd say it's a majority physician referrals.
Okay.
Orthopedic surgeons and primary care physicians, and then it's a decent amount of word of mouth. I'm in the downtown area, so there's not a ton of competition, and we get a lot of people that just do a Google search and say, hey, where's their PT near me? Are they decent? And that's the research. So maybe half and half. I see a little workman's comp, but not much. There's some auto in there, but for the most part, yeah, just general orthopedics. Your back hurts, you call a PT, you come in.
You ever have any frustrating clients where it's just like they can't figure out why they're not getting better, and you're just like, well, it's because you're not doing the work. It's because you're not, putting in the hard effort that it takes to, recover from the situation.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think frustration comes when expectations are inaccurate for the reality of the situation. If something's going to probably take 6 months and we have research evidence to say that, yeah, it takes between 4 and 9 months to get better, and you're 2 weeks out and you're like, why am I not better? You're probably frustrated at me. You're probably frustrated at yourself, and you're probably frustrated at everybody in your life.
Yeah.
But that's an expectations thing.
Yeah. How important do you think it is for physical fitness to be a part of somebody's life who's mentally fit and healthy?
I think it is absolutely important.
Yeah.
I think everybody should be doing some form of resistance training. Doesn't have to look like a barbell or even a dumbbell, but I think anybody across the lifespan should be pushing some sort of resistance, probably 4 or 5 days a week, and probably should be doing cardio to get their heart rate, really between like 120 and 160, probably for 90 minutes a week is like a general recommendation.
What is like I guess that varies for every person, what it takes to get your heart rate to, would you say between 120 and 160? That's like the target?
Yeah, just like that mid target range. You could call it zone 2, 3.
That's like you could have a conversation, but if you went a little bit harder, it might be hard to talk to somebody.
That's that border between zone 2 and 3. Yeah. And that gets a lot of attention. I would say really as basic as work pretty hard so you're out of breath and then do it again.
120 to 160?
So it depends on your max heart rate. Yeah.
How do you find your max heart rate?
Yeah. Good
What's
question.
like a really good way to do that?
There are 2 simple calculations. The first one, the older one, is just 220 minus your age, gives you give or take that maximal heart rate. The one that's slightly more accurate but fairly similar is just 208 minus 70% of your age. So
Okay.
0.7 times your age.
So if somebody's smoking meth, they're automatically in that range. Are they pretty healthy individuals, would you say?
They're doing a lot of cardio, clearly. Yeah, clearly it's a benefit for their health and probably pain as well, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And so they probably don't have to push as hard as somebody who's, not doing any stimulants. Like I'm going to have to push harder because I don't drink coffee and I don't do like meth or anything like that or Adderall. So I'm probably going to have to, it's going to be harder for me to get to that.
You're going to have to push
that range.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, quite hard. Yeah.
That's why we
Their
brought the
heart
physical
might
therapist on.
explode, though.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, if they get to 200 or something like that.
It could go downhill quickly.
Sure.
Yeah, tread lightly.
Totally.
So 90 minutes of cardio a week in that target range.
That is the recommendation. Do I get that? Probably not.
Like
but think
60s, like
if how often are you working out?
like 3 to 4 days a week.
Yeah.
Like actual, like going to the gym and really pushing it, and
So-
then like some calisthenics and stuff around the house on like other days.
Think like you're going to add up time when you're taking a walk, when you're going somewhere, when you're carrying groceries, when you're lifting weights, your heart rate's going to be up. It's not purely just you're on a run for 90 minutes. Like this is an accumulation of activity that really matters. And again, the guidelines are really for cardiovascular health more than like weight loss or anything like that. I think a common misconception is that's going to drop weight dramatically, and it might help in the short term, and it might help as part of the equation, but really when it comes down to it, it's going to keep you alive more than anything.
How different is the cardio from weight training, like relative to the cardio from just pure cardio? Because I feel like when I'm working out my legs or something like that, it feels like I'm doing more cardio than if I'm working out my chest and back and arms.
That's a great question. I would say the evidence points towards upper body being more taxing on the cardiovascular system. That being said, I think you're right. I would say, if you're doing a heavy squat, you're probably taxing the system more, and you're going to be gassed after that. Think like if you do some walking lunges for, 20 repetitions, your heart rate's getting up there.
Is it normal for people to want to kill themselves after they do legs, and then just when they're looking forward to doing legs, just wanting to end their life?
So you enjoy it and you then hate yourself after.
Oh, I hate everything about legs. Yeah. I remember
Every day I go to the gym and I have to do squats. I look at the squat racks and I'm just like, motherfucker. I just look at them over there and you just know you don't want to go. I'm just like, it's not going to be fun. I'm not going to like that.
Yeah. I remember you saying that you typically do oscillating upper body legs, right? That's so crazy to me. Like, because I like to limit legs to once a week, and then even then I'll skip. But I've been trying to be better about getting like.
What do you mean oscillating? Like
just back and forth
on the same day?
Nah, separate days.
Separate days.
Just like doing one then the other, and one the other. Yeah.
Like every.
I'll put the definition of oscillate right here.
Well, I just didn't know if it was like.
I'm just
because I've seen some workout plans where like you can do bench and squats in the same day, like when you're like powerlifting and just trying to like put on size.
I feel like I've been working out for a long time and I'm old now. So it's like, I feel like just results based, it doesn't really matter what you're working out, excuse me, as long as you're working out, right? Like if you do legs and you isolate legs for a day, is that any different than doing half legs and half upper body every single day rather than going back and forth? Or is it more efficient to just focus on one muscle group? I always wondered about that.
I think it depends on your goal. If your goal is pure strength, it's probably less efficient. I think that rest day in between would go a long way. If the goal is just like health and fitness, I bet it doesn't move the needle that much. It doesn't change a ton.
That tends to be as I get older, I care about just making sure everything's moving, full range of motion. There's a little bit of strength, and that I'm not tired during the day because I can walk upstairs without huffing and puffing. Like when I was younger, maybe I cared more about some of the other things, but like yoga seems so much more appealing now that I'm older, but it seems more practical to be able to like touch your toes, because you see some of those huge guys in the gym and you're like, I don't think that dude could touch his kneecaps. And they just look like I guess that's cool that you're like huge and strong, but like, what is that? It doesn't have a lot of practical use on a day-to-day basis other than pushing that thing really heavy in one.
Well, and getting babes.
Oh, getting babes.
Yeah.
Do babes comment this? One of you, maybe. We might have one female watcher right now. What's more attractive, the dad bod or the swole?
Yeah, but the dad bod that can touch their toes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's my goal. Skinny, fat, touch toes.
The Nate Diaz regimen.
Hey, that guy's really in good shape for not being in good shape at all.
True.
On the outside.
Yeah. What would you say to somebody who has really poor leg genetics, who works out their legs as much? Like I don't know anybody like this. I'm just asking for just the general population. Like somebody that does squats and does calf raises and hamstring curls and everything, and just can't get bigger legs because their bone structure just won't allow it. When people don't look at my legs, it's not me, it's somebody else. It's the general you person, right? What would you say to that person about just like, no, don't worry about it, just work it out and be healthy and just like get calf implants or something like that? Or
you're just gonna plug in calves like it's nothing?
Yeah. And then I'm just like, I have great leg genetics.
Man, it's so hard. I can't grow legs either, but I'm talking to the general population, not Adam. I think I would start with breaking down the program and looking at really how many hard sets a week you're doing per muscle group. So although like genetics are going to play a huge role when we're looking at the guy that Kyle's talking about that is absolutely massive, and that's the goal, right? In your case, you want to have these legs that don't fit in the pants, you know.
Yeah, biceps on my traps, right? And just
you can't even like wipe your ass. Yeah.
Sure.
So in that case, they're although potentially using steroids, they're probably pushing really damn hard in the gym in such a way where maybe they're doing 3 sets of leg press, but that RPE, meaning how hard they're working, is really, really high. If 10's failure, they're probably getting up to an 8 or a 9. And I do think that has to play a big role. That's easier said than done. But that's what we see in the research about how can you grow a muscle group. You got to work it really, really hard and then rest and then work it really, really hard again. So rather than maybe diversify the movements, hit 4 or 5 major movements hard and then just overload in addition to having that rest time in between.
Nice. Okay. And then in terms of supplements, like how far do you like to see people go with it, right? Do you like just like the basic multivitamin, or like you mentioned steroids, and I was just thinking like anabolics probably can't be good for a lot of people, but then they're starting to look at what are the ones that Rogan always talks about? Peptides. Thank you. Like, I don't know how much you know about the peptide space, but it's growing and becoming ever increasingly popular. But I think it's pretty difficult to find peptides on the market that haven't been labeled as like unsafe by the FDA. But a lot of people think it's because they're captured by the pharmaceutical industry and they haven't found a way to patent the molecule yet. So I don't know if you've seen anybody use peptides. I don't know if you use peptides, if you think that's probably a good avenue along with like a multivitamin, or if multivitamins are overrated and you should just do vitamin D and, certain vitamins or something like that, and minerals, or if maybe anabolic steroids get a bad rap. Like, so it's a big loaded question there, but just how do you feel about things you put into your body to enhance performance?
Yeah, I would start with thinking about supplements as being truly supplemental. So what I worry about is that people worry more about what supplements they're taking than about their sleep and their sleep quality and amount of sleep. Or they're more worried about supplementation of this than they are about their protein intake and overall quality of the calories that they're taking in. I think if you're really mastering everything else, then potentially supplements could be that extra 5 or 10%. It's not really my field of practice to recommend supplementation. I personally use whey protein because I shoot for give or take about 1 gram per pound body weight in protein a day. I think that's probably slightly high, but it's an easy mathematical equation. And then I take creatine daily. I really think anywhere between like 2.5 and 5 grams is probably pretty reasonable to keep that level of creatine in the musculature. Aside from that, I'll take vitamin D, sometimes fish oil when I remember, and that's about it. So I am unfamiliar with the use of peptides. I think more than anything, the time and place is when you're doing everything else. And sometimes we see that it's a substitute for poor health habits, and you try to cover up the 5 hours sleep that you get and the binge drinking with, well, at least I'm taking this supplement, at least I'm taking this greens powder because that's going to make me superhuman. So it's not the case.
For sure. You talk about sleep, and it sounds like that's very important, right? Would you say that, how many hours did you get today? 3, 4? Would you say like 3-4 hours of sleep is normal or okay for somebody at, what time is it? 4 o'clock in the afternoon?
It's 3:45.
Yeah. Because I think I got about 3-4 hours of sleep last night as well. So, and then that's like every night for me. And then, yeah. So is that okay?
I would say it's probably less than ideal. I definitely shoot for 7.5 to 9, but 3 to 4 is definitely going to fall short.
Do you ever struggle, like, Does your brain just not turn off when you're trying to go to sleep? Or are you able to just, oh, it goes off and I'm asleep?
Like few and far between times when I'm falling asleep can I not just crash. I think I'm just like tired, man.
It's built different, man.
I guess.
We're built different.
Yeah.
built faulty and
Yeah,
with
you guys
mechanical
full of
errors.
anxiety
Run off
and
3 hours,
trauma.
No problem. And I'm drinking a pot of coffee a day. What are you guys doing?
Maybe that's what we need.
Yeah.
Maybe we just need to burn out like every source of energy we have, and then once we hit the pillow, done.
Done.
As an anxious person, the more I work out and just make myself tired, the easier it is to fall asleep. Like I was fucking tired last night. I played poker till like 2. I had a rough night, but yesterday I woke up on time, went to the gym, did everything, had like a really good day. And I like when I got home, I was ready for bed. And that's pretty rare. Usually it's like, fuck, it takes me like 3 hours to fall asleep sometimes.
On a completely unrelated topic, can you see us?
See? No, because I'm not wearing my glasses?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm trying to strengthen my eyes by not wearing my glasses. Dude, I heard Joey Diaz say that. I trust that guy. He's like, I'm sure the voice of reason when it comes to eyesight. No, dude, I was at the gym and there's this hot chick, never looks at me, didn't wear my glasses yesterday, and she kept staring at me. I'm like, all right, ditching the fucking spectacles, and I'll just... Might not even been the same girl because I wasn't wearing glasses. Could have just been some completely different person, but pretty sure it was her. Yeah.
So what would you suggest is the best eye exercise for Kyle now that he's ditched the glasses?
No, more than that, I don't really need that. How do you talk to girls at the gym? How can you do that and not be creepy, or is it just like...
We're not here for dating advice. We didn't bring you on for dating advice, but do you talk to girls at the gym? And if so, can you give us advice?
I don't think I've ever been successful at talking to girls at the gym.
It's like the hardest place on the planet to do it, but sometimes I feel like she's staring at me, or like we've made like eye contact a few times. I'm like, I wish I could just go up and say something. I'm not. I never will. Best case scenario, I'm like, are you using this still? And then she's like, no. And I'm like, cool. And then I can use it. Or she says yes. And then I'm like, okay. And then I go away. That's probably the most I don't talk to anybody at the gym, though. I don't think I really want to be talked to at the gym, so I get it. They're probably not there to meet people. Or are they? Probably not.
Well, I almost feel like a lot of people go to the gym for like the community. Like
Yeah, that's like if it was like a CrossFit gym or some sort of thing in that, wheelhouse.
See, you were talking about the squat machine. I hate community, and so I just am
the squat rack's right there.
Yeah. So I just detach myself entirely from the community so that I can just do it by myself in my own time, in my own space with nobody around. That way, it's like that way I don't have to worry about girls coming up to me and hitting on me all the time, which is what happens frequently when I go to gyms and get memberships.
Yeah, it's distracting in there. I bet
It's too much.
Yeah.
That's a rough life.
Yeah, but it's only because I don't have glasses. I wore my glasses one time to the gym. Nothing. Not a single look. Not a
That's why he's
glance.
strengthening his eyes.
Dude,
That's it.
Man,
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I gotta figure it out. I guess I could get LASIK. That's my option. I got to do it now or never.
Don't they have to shave off like a piece of...
It's terrifying. The idea of getting LASIK, because 99.99% of the time you have better vision, but the time you don't, you're probably blind.
Yeah, but it's 99.9. It's also with flying. He's terrified of flying. Do you fly? You like to fly? You think flying is a normal activity that people do, and normal humans that aren't like psychotic and OCD and anxious?
I'm good with
Scary as fuck. And then I'm on the internet and I see that fucking door that just blew off.
It wasn't even a door, dude.
Was it a window?
It was something like that.
Yeah,
window.
yeah, I'm not. Yeah, fuck flying. I mean, I'll do it, but I just commit to dying. Like if I decide to get on the plane, it's just like I've had a good life, whatever. It's
There's
fine.
peace in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what some people say, that they're, oh, I love flying because I don't have to have any control over anything. I'm like, yeah, that's the worst part. And I can't see what's going on in the cockpit. Okay, so here's what happened. I was about as hungover as you've ever been in your life. I was probably 24, leaving Vegas. Bad trip, lost a bunch of money, got shit-faced the night before I left, barely made it to my flight. I'm flying like red eye or standby. I barely get on this flight, and I'm sitting next to this super hot chick, which was awesome. And I'm like, cool. She's with her husband. Don't care. He's asleep. She's just talking to me. She's like, oh, are you an anxious person? Do you like get a little scared flying? She's like, I fly all the time. I can tell when somebody's a little nervous. I'm like, yeah, I don't love it. Blah, blah, blah. This flight at one point we were coming into Denver, the turbulence was so bad, the stewardess was crying. The flight attendant was crying. She was crying, like bawling her eyes out. There's dudes that are like freaking out and screaming. This lady who's like the frequent flyer, she's like waking up her husband. Like they're like kissing each other. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I thought I was going to die. I was just in shock. I think I just sat there like this. And then all of a sudden everything levels out and the pilot's just like, sorry, I had a little turbulence there. And ever since then, I'm like, it's any little bump, I think it's just going to escalate into that scenario.
But yeah, that scenario you survived though. So that scenario happens sometimes, and 99.999% of the time you survive. Commercial airlines, up until recently, things are getting a little sketchy right now, but commercial airlines are very, very safe. The safety profile is out of control.
It doesn't help that I know a few airplane mechanics, and they're raging alcoholics and not reliable people. I'm like, these are the guys that are like fixing my plane.
But they also have like a whole team, and they have, supervisors on top of supervisors to ensure it's supposedly like they're starting to like, they just canceled a flight I saw this morning because are
you paid by like big airline? Is this propaganda? No, I'm not flying, dude. I hate it. No, I'll fly.
And get my check from Boeing.
I'll fly if I have to.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the last time I flew.
Yeah, he doesn't even fly. He says he always says that, but he never actually flies. Like during
if I have to.
During COVID, we met him. Me and a buddy of mine met him in Miami. He drove there. We flew. Granted, he was already driving around the country, but you know how he goes back and forth between Austin, right?
He's driving.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Oh yeah. He's
Rip it 14 hours, no big deal.
driving back and forth.
It just feels less safe, man.
It is. It's statistically the most unsafe thing you could do is drive. I showed him.
But then you wouldn't have cool experiences like I had the last time I drove from Colorado or from Austin to Denver.
I don't have the statistics pulled up right now, but I was showing him that like statistically, he's like, the odds were crazy. It was like has better odds of dying on like one drive there than like 100 flights or 1,000 flights or something crazy like that. Like one drive of like 1,400 miles or whatever it is. But he has the locus of control, right? So he's got like the feeling of control. So
all the control. I can pull over where I want. You want to hear a funny story? So I was driving from Austin to Denver like a month ago, and I'm talking to him on the phone. I'm allergic to pork. I decided to eat about 37 pork dumplings before I left Austin. About 2 hours into my drive, bumfuck nowhere, Texas. I'm like, I'm sick. Like, I'm as sick as I've ever been. I pull over to the side of like some county road in the middle of nowhere. Like there's no houses, nothing around. I had like the seats laid down in the back of my Audi, and I'm passed out. I wake up. I had to take a shit. Worst shit I've ever had to take in my life. I don't know what to do. I just get outside my car. I take the biggest poop I've ever taken. I mean, it was massive. I go back to sleep for like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, wake up, got to go again. Shit right on top of the other shit. It looks like cow shit. It's fucking disgusting. Like a horse did this. I go pass back out for, I don't know, an hour. I wake up and there's cops. And they're walking up to my car and I'm like, careful. There's like a giant pile of shit right there. And they're just like, what the hell is going on? And they're like, what's going on, buddy? And I'm like, listen, I'm driving from Austin home for the holidays to Colorado. I got sick. I pulled over. I took a shit. The guy's like not even that concerned about the shit. He looks at me. He's like, is there any drugs in the car? I'm like, no, man. Like there's nothing in here. He's like, okay, is there meth in the car? And I'm like, no. I kind of just like laugh. I'm like, I said there's nothing in here. His partner comes up. He's like, all right, so what drugs are you on? I'm like, I'm not on drugs. Like, dude, you just took a shit right here. You're passed out. I'm like, I swear, like, I just got sick. And the one cop's like, can we search your car? I'm like, 99.9% sure there's nothing in there, but I don't know for sure. And I bought the car from a buddy who's a big pothead, and I'm in Texas. Definitely don't know if there's just like some random weed in there. I tell him to search it. He searches for a little bit. He finds an empty bottle of Pepto-Bismol, and he's like, I think he's telling the truth. And he like looks at them like they were like surprised because they just were convinced that I was just going to be some meth head. And then they're like kind of searching in my car. And then I just made up this lie. I was like, I have Crohn's disease. And it was like the perfect lie because they're like, oh, our sergeant has Crohn's disease. And they're like, oh, poor guy. And they just knew that if I actually had Crohn's disease, that happens a lot. I was lying. I just like ate a bunch of pork and shit my brains out, even though I know not to do that. But they did let me go.
They made him pick up the shit though.
Oh, they did make me pick up the poop, and then there's no trash cans. I'm like, what do I do with it? And they're like, you're gonna have to go find a trash can. So I'm just like driving in my car with like the stinkiest shit of all time. Oh, that was so bad. It was pretty funny though.
Yeah, and I was on the phone with him leading up to that point. He's just like, my stomach hurts so bad. He's like, I had to pull over. It's like, he goes, I gotta let you go, man. I think I got to shit. And then I hear back from him 3 hours later. He's just like, dude, I gotta tell you something. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
So
That's the shit part of the podcast. There's always one part of the podcast that Kyle's gonna talk about poop. I didn't poop my pants last year, the entire year.
Wow.
2023 did not shit my pants one time. Got close on that drive at the end of the year, but I didn't shit my pants.
Okay.
Yeah, couple close calls.
Yeah, these are the goals, right? Like in your 20s, you're like, I'm gonna try to work out 3, 4, 5 times a week. I'm gonna like get in good shape. I'm gonna eat really healthy. I'm gonna, get a good relationship and try to make the relationships with the people around me more sustainable and healthier. And then, in your 30s, it's just like, I'm gonna try not to shit my pants for a month.
If I make it a whole year, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
very impressive.
It's not a bad year. Yeah.
No.
I hope 2024 gets
Like I had my heart ripped out, went through a bad breakup. All that was like, whatever. Didn't shit my pants. I'm like, fuck yeah. So it's the small victories because that's what you have to celebrate,
Take the W's where you can get them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For me, not shitting my pants is a big one.
Yeah.
I keep toilet paper in my car.
As you should. Yeah.
People are like, why is that always in there? I'm like, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. I know some people think that way with like firearms. I think that way with toilet paper.
So we've hit farts while doing physical therapy, and we've hit shits while doing just everything.
Sure. Yeah.
So apologies for having to join.
No.
The
no apologies
defecation
necessary.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll change the name of it.
What's the deal with cold plunges and saunas?
That's a good one.
That's everybody wants to. I'm on that. Not so much cold plunges because they're difficult, but I love the sauna. It's actually the only thing I look forward to at the gym. It's like the one part of the exercise, and I can't wait to sit in the sauna for a half hour after this. Are you a sauna guy?
Or a cold plunge guy.
I don't have access to a sauna right now. I'm definitely not a cold plunge guy because I don't like the cold. But it definitely is popular. I would say it's probably more of a fad than anything. I think saunas feel awesome, and you definitely get some endorphin release once you get out of a cold plunge. I think there's probably something to be said for just manipulation.
I'll put the meme here.
That's a good meme.
So
Yeah. I mean that sounds about right. Yeah. I think it will probably be something that we look back to and go, yeah, people are, buying baths to put in their apartments so they could jump into some ice water. And that feels right.
The Grifters did it. Yeah.
Yeah. The hard thing about it, if you're looking at the science, is it's pretty hard to control for, a ice bath, because either that you're in the ice bath or you're not in the ice bath. So there's not really a way to study it. Like typically there's a control
double blind
in this study, right? Like you change a variable, the water temperature, and you have some people jump in ice cold water and some people jump in non-ice cold water. And in this case, if you're in the ice cold water.
Yeah.
So maybe it just matters if you think the ice cold water is good for you, and then it probably is. But
my personal experience is I haven't noticed tons of like health benefits from it, but there's probably some sort of discipline that if you can do that, maybe you can be disciplined in other parts of your life. Like, oh, I don't want to eat healthy today, but the hardest part of your day is already done. Like, it's a lot easier to make a good decision now that I've done this thing that I really don't want to do. Because a lot of life is just doing shit you don't want to do. And if you can force yourself to do something every single day that's really difficult, the other tasks probably don't seem as difficult.
I think that speaks to the philosophy of just putting yourself in uncomfortable positions. I think that's the only way that a person can grow, right? Because if you're sedentary and you're not thinking about eating things maybe you don't want to eat, maybe you'd rather just eat the Oreos all day. Maybe you don't want to exercise. Maybe you don't want to exercise your mind or think critically. Like, these are all the things that allow you to grow. And sometimes you don't want to do them. And so I think that there's something to be said about just putting yourself in those types of uncomfortable situations.
I also think it's tricky, like when you see some of the sauna studies that come out, and it's like, oh, people that sit in the sauna X amount of times a week have a 40% decrease in all-cause mortality. it's like, yeah, that's awesome. Maybe that's the sauna, but also people that are thinking about their fitness and health, they're probably doing the other stuff outside of the sauna as well. They're probably not just sitting in the sauna and then binge drinking every weekend and eating that bag of Oreos. They're probably making better decisions. So it's kind of like correlation always isn't, or causation. I don't know, whatever the saying is there, but
Correlation isn't causation.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I would say I think you're right on with, if it makes you uncomfortable and you get used to that discomfort, there's probably a lot of value in that. I mean, that's kind of the David Goggins like philosophy, right? He's kind of crazy about it, but like it is that you have to. At some
I like that
point-
we look up to that guy and he's awesome, but like he has severe mental illness.
It's psychotic.
Like,
It's legitimately psychotic.
That's a
Insane.
crazy, insane person.
Yeah.
To like force yourself to do the things he does. I mean, it's awesome to see somebody have that sort of control over their mind and body, but it's just unrealistic for, I don't know, every single other human being besides like what's the other guy? Cam Haines is kind of like that. There's a couple other, but yeah, that's insane.
And you can overexert yourself too, right? Like if you what's it,
rhabdomyolysis.
yeah. So you can just burn your muscles out, burn your endocrine system out, like the whole body can shut down. And I actually experienced that. I was trying to be a superhuman about 10 years ago, maybe 9 years ago or something like that. And I was working out every single day. And just as hard as a person could work out, I was doing high intensity interval training with this treadmills down here, and then I was taking every supplement known to man, without I did some level of due diligence where I was like, oh, this one's good for this one's good for that, without realizing like if you overload your body with all of them, it's not good, right? Like the extremes of anything typically aren't good. And it like caused just a myriad of crazy health issues that still persist to this day a little bit. Like I broke shit in my body.
Oh man.
Yeah. So that's kind of a bummer. But yeah. But then we look up to David Goggins and it's like, okay, yeah, just run, or do Ironman triathlons every day.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Speaking of breaking shit in your body, what's the most common injury that you help rehab? Like what are most people coming in with? Is it a pretty wide spectrum, or do you have more people coming in with shoulder injuries or lower back or knee stuff? My knees are bad. I feel like everybody's knees are bad after a certain age, but what is the most common?
Yeah, I'd say low back pain is probably the number one, but it kind of depends on the time of year. When February, March hits, I see a lot of knee injuries because of the mountains, just being here in Colorado. So a lot of ACLs more than anything when it comes to knee injuries, but low back and neck pain. I think a lot of these injuries come from, even if like you're trying to do the right thing, sitting for 10 hours or even standing at a standing desk. I don't know that it matters that much, but like being sedentary for a long period of time and then going to do something that is good for your health, but like not being ready to do that activity becomes quite a challenge for your body. Typically people hurt when they don't move enough. And so that's kind of that pattern that you see.
And so in order to rehab, like how do you rehab the spine? Like I've heard you like if something like that happens where you're just sitting down for a long time, you're not really taking care of your body, your back, your neck can start to, fail on you. But to rehab that seems really tricky because it's not like a muscle or a joint, right? Like I guess the neck kind of is, not really, but like, so do you just like try to find the heaviest object imaginable and lift with your back in a twisting, jerking motion in order to repair the things that have been broken from you not doing anything? That like the more you do will offset the you not doing stuff for a long time, right? If you think about it logically.
That does seem logical. Yeah. I would start with if, all right, you come in and you have low back pain, say it's, it's not running into your leg or anything like that. It doesn't seem like there's any nerve irritation. It's pretty much generalized low back pain. It's called non-specific low back pain. It's give or take 85 to 90% of people with low back pain have what is considered to be non-specific, meaning if you had an MRI, there wouldn't be one thing on the MRI exactly that could point to your pain. So then, you figure out what typically hurts. Does it hurt to bend forward? Does it hurt to bend backwards? Does it hurt after you stand or sit or walk for a certain period of time. I like to do typically the opposite, basically what does feel good. So break it up. If you have to sit at a desk in a call center for 10 straight hours, if you can sit in a different position or stand up, move around, do some light stretching, and break up the day, that will make a difference. And then from there, I don't honestly consider it to be that much different than really any other area of the body. I take this approach of like, either you calm shit down, so you're doing too much and it hurts, let's slow that down and make it hurt less, and then you build shit back up. So, you know, I think everybody needs to have a certain level of just strength and tolerance in their lumbar spines. And for whatever reason, I would say in fitness, we've decided that, you know, if you're doing a squat, you really want to feel it in your quads and glutes. But if you're doing a back exercise, I don't want this to feel like anything in your back is what is told. And that doesn't really make sense. Muscles pull on bones. We're definitely like oversimplifying how things should move. But at some point you got to train to do what you want to do.
It's super interesting.
My massage therapist said a lot of times she thinks my back pain, because it seems to just be in my back, but can come from tight hamstrings and tight quads, from maybe not stretching them enough because they're kind of pulling on everything, and then it's messing with my posture. On top of, obviously, as a poker player, I'm sitting a lot. However, I do try to get up during my poker sessions and do some stretches, as awkward as that can be sometimes in a courtroom or casino. But yeah, lower back pain's tough.
Yeah, the biomechanics of the body are interesting because it's just like everything is connected. Like, it's like that old song, right? The, you know, hip bone's connected to the leg bone or whatever. It's like, but then they're all connected to each other, right? Because you don't have like a floating, you know, appendage right here. It's like it's all connected. So, you know, you fuck one thing up and it can cascade, especially in the spine where it's like the centralized, you know, piece of your body. So it's like you fuck up a knee, it can radiate to your hip and then your spine, I would imagine. And then you fuck up your neck and then it's going to go down your spine. And then obviously, then you've got the issue with peripheral nerve damage, right? So you fuck something up in your spine where like the whole nervous system is, and then you could feel it in your fingers and your hands and your feet and your. Do you ever have like? I know you typically work with structural stuff, but do you ever have anybody in your practice kind of talking about pain in their nerves, like peripheral nerve pain or anything? Like, oh,
absolutely. I see it every day, and so. I would say what we're kind of discussing is what I typically like to call nerve irritation, because kind of contrary to popular belief, the idea of a pinched nerve isn't necessarily anatomically accurate. Nerves are compressed throughout the body all the time during movement. Much of the time, say if you know you have a disc herniation in your neck that is then causing an inflammatory response that then irritates a nerve root where the nerve comes out of the spinal cord, and you have pain elsewhere, down the arm, into the shoulder blade, wherever it might go. Those are typically the common ones in terms of location of radiation of pain from the neck. Then you could have either compression, so that would be probably a loss of function, either in strength or sensation or reflex, or you could just have pain. You could have both, so compression with that irritation, that chemical irritation from inflammation, but you could also just have one or the other. And so I see more often than not, people have pain without loss of function. You're not like dropping stuff, your hands work, but you have a ton of pain, say when you're looking down or something like that. Sometimes you do see that the opposite is true. You know, I saw somebody earlier this week that had about a foot drop, meaning she had compression of really between L5 and S1. So the bottom part of her lumbar spine, the nerve root coming out of there, was compressed 4 years ago. She woke up one day and could not lift her foot. And so she did not have any sciatic pain and still had that compression very clearly coming from the lumbar spine. And so you can see that too. I'd say too on the pain front, you know, I'm working with people in pain all day, every day. And I don't think that is thought about enough or discussed enough in just general life, that pain's complex, man. Like if people understood a little bit more about how pain worked, I think that would go a long way.
Absolutely. One of the first symptoms of ALS is foot drop. So that must have been scary. You wake up and you search like, why isn't my foot lifting up? Why can't I, use that muscle? And he's like, the first result is ALS. And, obviously Stephen Hawking was able to survive it because he fed off of the blood of children. But I don't know if you've heard about his whole thing on Epstein Island, but it's crazy. But anyway, he was able to survive ALS. The only person to do it, actually. They stopped the progression. So does it bother you at all that we're going to assimilate with AI and become phones one day, because then you won't have like a body, you just have a consciousness in the cloud? Or do you look forward to that because the older you get, you don't want to have to decay and degenerate and like not be in the prime of your life like you are now? Like,
you're saying we're just turning straight into machines.
Into phones specifically, but
yeah.
This
one.
That
we're gonna look like that. Yeah.
Galaxy S23 Ultra. Yeah.
Man.
That's what Kyle was
Samsung fan.
Yeah, you turn into a phone. I mean, I already am my phone.
True.
I don't go anywhere without it. Like, I have anxiety if I don't know where it is for like a minute.
Same.
Yeah.
But do you think that, like, we all treasure and value our bodies except for the people that don't, but does it bother you that one day we may not have this, especially soon, as quickly as AI is progressing and self-learning, and like is going to subjugate us unless we upload ourselves to that like system?
I don't know if I'm going to be there for that. I haven't even thought about it.
Okay.
Tell me more.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, like, if you've been talking about how you can sleep really well, let me go ahead and like ruin that really quickly and give you existential dread for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Or at least until AI takes over in the next 5 years. So
I think it's 5 years.
Dude, it's happening so rapidly right now. It's not 5, but it's going to happen
10, 15?
something like 10 or 15, I think, is when quantum computing is going to take off. And then like that Guillaume Verdon podcast on the Lex Friedman podcast was crazy. Just like they're rapidly approaching everything. And then now you're seeing, Zuck in the space, and then Sam Altman and Elon Musk. And then there's, a bunch of other AI companies that are all like trying to outcompete each other and race to see who can capitalize on it first. And the problem with AI is it's not like we're limited by the progression of human advancement in knowledge and information. At a certain point, and it's happening right now, AI is self-learning. It's teaching itself the breadth of human knowledge on the internet, everything that we put on the internet. And then now it's starting to be able, at least there's theories, right, that now it's becoming artificial generalized intelligence, AGI, which means it can self-learn and it won't need the information that it's like putting into the system. And then as we can progress the compute power, so if we can then create quantum computing, I mean, it has all the resources in the world to just teach itself anything and everything.
Can it teach me how to talk to girls at the gym?
No.
That's
the one thing it
can't do. That's
Correct.
like where its capacity is.
That's how you break the AI. It's like, how do I talk to a girl at the gym? Like,
Phone just lights on
input
fire.
parameters, and it's like analyzing Kyle. It's just like, just explodes. It's the end of that problem.
Good.
Nice.
I don't fear AI. No, I do.
You can't let them hear you say that. You have to say, I respect AI and I appreciate AI.
Maybe it wants me to fear them. It's how we control everything. Fear.
Yeah. But then they control you. You got to be like, what if AI is just like a grifter? And you just have to be like...
Dude, I honestly, I feel like it took over a long time ago. Like 10 years ago. AI is like, it's just doing it in such a like cunning way that it's just like, keep making us. And like, as soon as the cell phone got into your pocket, as soon as we had the internet on our phone, AI was just algorithms and influence just took over. I feel like it happened a while ago. I feel like we're past the point of no return. I don't think we're ever going back to... I think I told you I was watching this show about a cult like out in the middle of nowhere, and they just want to get back to like living off the land, and then they're like live streaming. I'm like, no, that's not like, we're not. You really want to go backwards? Do you want to go backwards? Do you think you'd be happier in like a pre-internet era? I mean, we all. How old are you, Brett?
27.
27. So you probably, I mean, I'm a little older. Like I can remember before the internet quite well. Like when I was like 12, 13 years old, there was no internet. I mean, it was like in its infancy. Nobody really knew what. I don't think Google was around yet. It was Ask Jeeves, maybe. Was that before Google?
Yep.
It seems like I was happier then, but I think everybody's childhood seems simpler and happier than.
It's very easy to romanticize a time that isn't now, whether that's the future or the past. It's like, excuse me. It's really easy to like demonize the things that are happening right now without recognizing all the beauty that is in the time right now, right? Like we have all the information that we want at the press of a button. With modern medicine, as much as big pharma and big insurance has sort of capitalized and taken over the health space, and is making everybody more poor and stifling advancements. We have the ability to solve a lot of these ills. You dislocate your shoulder. Like, what did that mean 100 years ago? What did that mean 200 years ago? You know what I mean? Now I could just go see Brett and he's just like, oh yeah, just do that. Like I go see the orthopedic surgeon. He cuts me open, stitches up the labrum back to the bone. And then I think it's the bone, right? Shoulder bone's connected to the labrum. And then I go see Brett and he's just like, oh yeah, like do this and this and this. And then like a year later, and I have full range of motion and like I'm good as new. Whereas like 100, 200, 150 years ago, right? You get a paper cut and you just hope it doesn't get infected and you die. So it's like those things, like it's easy to take everything for granted because it just becomes the new norm and everything is relative. But if you can kind of take a step back and just have gratitude, like your gratitude doesn't always have to be like, at least I'm not in Africa. It's like, at least I'm not in like 1800. You know what I mean? At least I have access to clean water and, yeah.
I like milk a lot, and there was some vegan that was like arguing with me about something about milk online, and she was like, "We're the only mammals that drink milk," and I kept thinking, like, what about surgery? I think we're the only mammals that perform surgery on each other. Like, you're gonna stop getting surgery? Like, we're the only mammals that grow almonds and make almond milk. You're gonna stop drinking almond milk? Like, that's such an illogical. I really hate veganism, man.
That's because you're falling for the grifters.
See, because like
Paul
you're talking
Saladino,
about something,
dude.
and all I can think about is how much I hate vegans. And I take any like, because that's what like you get on Instagram. Doesn't matter what the post is about. There'll be somebody in the comments that will take an out of context position on like, that's the Democrats, that's the Republicans, that's the vegans. That's me. I'm the vegan guy. Like, fucking vegans. So angry for no reason. Veganism's fine. Be a vegan. Be a good person. Don't eat meat. I don't know.
It's easy.
What is your diet like?
I eat an omnivorous diet.
Yeah. Are you like high protein, low carb?
Nah, man. I ate pasta all week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean,
Dude, last
I
night.
love some carbs. I'll go. That's the hill that I'll die on.
Carbs are okay for you?
Yeah. I'll fight that battle any day. It's not anywhere near my expertise, but I like them. And don't tell me that sourdough is not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last night I was playing poker. I ate like a good healthy breakfast. Went and played poker. Was like doing good, and then lost a bunch of money. I ate like 7 pieces of cornbread with like a ton of honey. It was the greatest. It was like the most enjoyable thing ever. And I kept thinking like, this is bad, right? Carbs are bad. This is bad for me. I just kept eating it. It felt good. And then today I slept for like 15 hours. Don't know if that's correlated to all the cornbread and honey I ate last night, but carbs are good.
Yeah, carbs are amazing.
What do you recommend for diet? Do you just eat whatever? Just try to hit your macros?
I mean,
Low sugar, maybe?
I probably do eat low sugar.
But isn't pasta just basically sugar, glucose anyways?
When it comes down to it, I really think that diet fads come and go, and I'm a firm believer in eating enough protein and enough fiber, and I think vegetables and fruits are good. And if you're eating either a balanced caloric diet or a slight deficit of calories, you're probably going to be in a good place health-wise. I worry that...
So don't eat 7 pieces of cornbread.
I mean, what else did you eat? You might have been all right.
Yesterday I had 3 eggs. I had a buffalo sirloin and a steak sirloin because I wanted to see if I could tell the difference. I could. Buffalo tastes much better to me. Anyway,
Better?
Yeah, it really did taste better. I cooked them the exact same way. They're like the exact same cut of meat. Just one was buffalo and one was beef, and I wanted to see if I could actually taste the difference, and I could. I had some fruit and I made like a kefir smoothie with some fruit and some
Kefir lime leaves.
Kefir, like raw milk kefir.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
no.
Different kefir.
I'm on the internet fads, so I'm like, oh, what is this guy on the internet tell me to drink? Okay.
The grifters got him.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh god. So there's this fucking there's this guy Paul Saladino. He preaches a like all carnivore diet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you know Paul. Yeah.
Oh, I know Paul.
He talks about drinking kefir, and just for shits, because like Kyle's been speaking really highly of this, so I was like, I'm gonna give it a shot. And I didn't notice much of a difference. In fact, when I eat just steak and when I eat only red meat without like tortillas for like, you know, and like cheese and other things, like I was telling Kyle, every time I eat just a steak and nothing else, I feel like shit. Yeah. My stomach just does not. And he's like, maybe you're doing it wrong. I was like, I don't know. That's just how I feel. It sucks. But one of the things that Paul Saladino talks about is kefir, which is raw milk.
Yeah, it's basically just yogurt.
It is not.
Yogurt.
It's yogurt. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's fermented.
It is so
right?
yeah. It's just pure. It's so sour. It's just
it tastes just like plain yogurt. When's the last time you had plain yogurt? It tastes the exact same.
It's so gross. I don't know if I've ever had plain yogurt. Then it's so disgusting. Have you ever had?
I eat plain yogurt all the time.
Yeah, I don't. He complains about it. I could just drink. It just tastes more. It's like liquidy yogurt that tastes the exact same as plain yogurt. You could buy it with like flavor in it. I just put my own frozen fruit in it and blend it up with like maybe some greens or something, like a green powder, just to make sure I'm getting some.
What's really cool
nutrients.
is Paul Saladino says that it can reverse lactose intolerance. If you,
I will give him credit that he won't say something without being like some sort of medical study.
He'll backing it up. Not really, because he keeps saying that high cholesterol, and maybe you could back him up. He keeps saying that high cholesterol. I was just on an Instagram comment thread, and I literally, because there was a post where he said, don't worry about high cholesterol. It's not going to hurt you or something like that. And I tried to look at like what he was citing or what source, and there are videos of him saying that there are studies underway, but there are no studies that have been completed that corroborate that statement. So I literally go into the comment section after I looked that up, and I said, Paul, you're going to get people killed. And then everybody just started just attacking, on his behalf, because it's just like the cult of Paul Saladino.
Yeah.
We dated the same chick.
A hot take about Paul Saladino, but
no, please.
No, hot takes all day.
Oh man, yeah. I
think real controversial.
I think
call him out.
Paul Saladino is probably the most harmful person on social media.
Let's go.
Like number one.
Okay.
I don't even think it's close. Like Liver King was so dumb that like it had to be. I don't want to attack people. Paul Saladino is an MD, and so he has the doctor behind his name, and he doesn't interpret research effectively. He is going to get skin cancer because you probably shouldn't just burn the shit out of yourself every day. The idea of eating hearts and mangoes is like, I guess fine, but it's weird to then call out broccoli as like the bane to everybody's existence.
Yeah, he's definitely making money and getting views because he says broccoli's bad for you. You're like, what?
And that's the beauty of the grift is if you could take a position that's so different than everybody else's, regardless of the validity or the logic behind it, it's like then you've set yourself apart so far from everybody else that anybody that's even near you is going to gravitate towards you rather than like all of these other people over here. Yeah. And they're like, and it's easy to say like, well, that guy's right because these guys are all captured by everybody and he's the one that's going against the grain because he's brave. It's this really weird like mentality, but again, it's cult mentality. And I heard Lex Friedman say something really poignant and profound, and I'm not going to remember exactly what it was, but it was like,
I think a lot of human progress is made when you have independent thought. So you have individuals that are able to think freely, and very powerful mimetic systems can kind of lead to groupthink. There's something in human nature that leads to like mass hypnosis, mass hysteria, where we start to think alike whenever there's a sexy idea that captures our minds. And so it's actually hard to like break us apart, pull us apart, diversify thought.
Humans have a tendency to glamorize ideas that sound sexy. And so once they start to do that, rationale starts to go out the window because we like to be a part of like the contrarian sort of like group, right? Or just a group in general, and just it becomes like it's a cult, but it's like it feels like a community. It's like, this is my community of people and we know better than everybody else. And so it's like this elitist mentality. It's like you know more than everybody. It's a contrarian thing. It's community. There's a lot to it. It's psychologically that gets people on board with that kind of stuff, I feel like. It's hard
For sure true. Yeah.
It's hard to be like a neutral observer and just be like, oh, some of the shit he says makes sense.
Do
Some
you
of it,
think that
crazy?
So an all meat diet, in your opinion, is just incredibly unhealthy?
I think for most people, it's probably a bad idea.
Do you think there are people that, because I have a buddy who I play poker with, he's from Germany, and I saw him in March, and he had like terrible like psoriasis and red skin. I didn't see him again until September, and for the last 4 months, he had been on pretty much an all meat diet, like literally nothing but meat, and his skin was completely cleared. And he's like, I can't. He's like, I tried everything. He's like, I take a medication, nothing's working. He's like, I just saw some stuff, tried it for a month, my stuff cleared up. And he's like, I've tried to add in fruits, I've tried to add in vegetables back in. As soon as I eat those things, psoriasis comes back up.
Interesting.
And I know there's other people who've had similar experiences, and I just wonder if those are I guess those must be the outliers of people that just have really bad reactions to certain things and fruits and vegetables that causes an autoimmune response that either ends up with psoriasis or with Jordan Peterson, his daughter is like only eats ribeyes and lamb or something every day, and she had all kinds of illnesses that have gone away. It's kind of interesting to see some of that.
I mean, I think this is where it starts, right? When anecdotal information, so an N of 1 type anecdote becomes truth. Like, I bet your friend is doing way better on this diet. But then I think where it goes from there is we say, see, don't eat spinach because he cured psoriasis. And that's where I worry. Like, recommendations typically are fairly holistic because you're looking at a population of people. And so it might not work for you, but it's saying across this population, if we completely randomize things and try to look at a bunch of different health factors, this seems to be the best thing for people.
So when it comes to diet and health, it's probably not generalized. It's probably individualistic, and you should try things that work for you. And if it seems to be working for you and you feel good, go to your doctor, make sure things look like they're okay, and like experimentation per the individual. Because me and Adam eat very differently and have very different, like I can eat a lot of meat and I feel great. I eat vegetables and stuff too, but I feel best if I cut sugar out of my diet, just in all of its forms, besides maybe some fruit. Like if I eat pasta, I'm going to feel like I felt so bad today after eating all that bread last night. Like I slept from 2 a.m. to 2 p.m. I couldn't even get out of bed. And there might have been some other factors. I had a big loss playing poker last night, so I was probably a little depressed when I got home. And I worked out really hard yesterday too. I had like a little bit more rigorous of a day than I normally do. But there's no way the bread helped.
And we have the psychology of like attributing it to the bread, right? Like, and you kind of mentioned this earlier, where it's like, why do I feel bad? Oh, it's because of that one thing that I already had that preconceived bias towards, right? It's like, it's because, or it's like, why am I upset? It's because I, did this or something like that. It's like, but rather than being like, oh, well, I feel bad because I didn't get any sleep, like you mentioned earlier, I feel bad because I ate a piece of broccoli and Paul Saladino told me not to. So, yeah, I think that's kind of...
You can get some placebo effect.
Dude,
you hear this Paul
everywhere.
Saladino talk about how bad vegetables are. You eat vegetables one day, but you didn't sleep like well the night before, and then you feel like shit later, like, oh, it's the vegetables. Maybe, but...
And if it's like a consistent thing, right, for an individual, because that's the hard part about anything in society deemed good or bad, right? There's some things that are kind of universal, exercise, things like that, right? But like diet's very difficult because genetics are so interesting that everybody's gut biome is going to be different. And then some people have genetic defects that are going to process vitamins a little bit differently or not be able to process vitamins. I actually just took a genetic test and found out that I have a gene that can't process like dopamine, adrenaline, and noradrenaline properly. Yeah, which makes a lot of sense as to like a lot of the issues that I've had over the years, which is like my body falling apart. And that's probably why there are certain foods that I eat that fuck me up that don't affect other people, or medications and things like that. So it's like everybody's so individual, and there's so many different variables and factors within each individual human body that it's very hard to say universally this is good or this is good. We can do that on occasion, but it's very, very rare, which is why I think that people like Paul Saladino that speak in absolutes are dangerous. Like this is the way. And there's like no nuance. It's like, no, this is the way. And that's what I always call his like cult followers out on. It's like, no, like, because they're like, you're in, you just do what Fauci says, and you just do what like the health insurance industry says, and the FDA, and like just be a good little sheep. And I'm like, no, the irony is that you're the sheep. I'm the person with nuance. Like, I'm not on anybody's side. I'm trying to look at it as objectively as possible. It's very interesting.
Yeah, dude, I was arguing with some guy that I saw that you commented on something.
Yeah.
And then I was like arguing with the same guy because he was like
that's why you said that. I didn't know what you meant. I get it.
Yeah, did you not read me going off on him?
I didn't get what you were saying. Okay, I got you.
I was just going like I was just being like, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your noble work online telling us about how bad masks are. Because if it weren't for you, I would have had no idea that masks are bad. It wasn't even about COVID. Literally, people were wearing masks in the jungle while they were like around like wild gorillas, just to not get the gorillas sick. And whether or not the masks work or don't, like they're not going to make things worse for the gorillas. But this guy was just like, sheeple, you fell for the scandemic. He must have said scamdemic like 7 times. And I kept being like, scamdemic. I'm like, that's so good. Did you come up with that on your own? You should patent that. You should. And I gotta stay off Instagram. I gotta stop arguing with strangers. That's my goal.
Is it healthy? Year. Is it healthy to like be on social media doom scrolling all day, every day, hunched over your phone, arguing with people?
I think that's the best solution. I hear comment sections are really, really helpful.
They're so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, because no matter what, like I can find a comment with somebody who doesn't see the world the same way I do, and then we can argue. And at the end of the day, I don't change his mind, and he doesn't change my mind. He actually just reaffirms my beliefs more, and I do for him. So we just become more divided. That's my goal.
Productive.
Yeah.
And there's nuance in the comment section.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's a lot of gray. Right. A lot of gray space out there.
I think that's like the problem with on the internet, right? Is it's just extremes. It's just binary. It's just like because if you have a slight disagreement with, like, if you're here, this is the middle, and you're here, and this person's here, and you have a slight disagreement, it's very easy to just become very polarized, like have this polar like unattraction to one another, because then you start to, oh no, I think this is wrong, no, I think this is wrong, and then before you know it, you're like, you've taken the extreme position over here and they've taken the extreme position over there, just because of a very minor argument. And then eventually you're just like, I'm on this team and they're on that team, rather than, because like if you're in the middle, you're getting attacked from both sides. Like that's what I notice is like from a political standpoint, is like I try to be as nuanced as possible. Like I don't like being Republican or Democrat, because then it like silos me into an ideology or several ideologies that I may or may not completely agree with. And so like sometimes I'll take one position on one side and then be in a comment section, and then they'll, oh, you're just a lib, you're libtard. I'll take another position on the other side, and you're just like, you're Trumper. And I'm just like, no, like I'm trying to look at each one of these issues individually.
Yeah, throughout the day you've been called a fucking Trumper and a libtard like multiple times. Multiple different days. Like, I guess I'm both. Okay.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, yes, I'm sorry that devolved into just madness.
That was fun, man. Yeah. I have one more topic of conversation along these lines.
Okay. Yeah.
We probably all have listened to Huberman at some point.
Yeah.
He's quite popular. In the physical therapy world, Huberman had some stuff in the last week that pissed a bunch of people off. It was an interview with Tim Ferriss where he talks about the tibialis anterior, the shin muscle, being like basically what will solve everything, maybe but cancer. And PTs lost their shit.
So what was his stance?
So his stance is that doing tib raises can fix everything. And he's wrong. Tib raises are fine. There's a fundamental misunderstanding of the anatomy of this muscle. But it was another fun, I'd say, popular conversation into a space where like people are missing the basic information here. And we should all take a step back and like that could have been fact checked a long time ago. It started with knees over toes guy.
I was going to ask you about him, actually. Yeah.
And I actually have a fairly positive view overall.
Okay.
If we want to divulge, I like a lot of what he says. I think the idea of adaptability is awesome. He talks about how your knees hurt, then you load them and you get stronger. And he's obviously transformed his athleticism in such a way where he can flat foot dunk a basketball, which is awesome. I think at this point he's probably trying to sell something. I know he's trying to sell his backwards treadmill. He could also walk backwards on a treadmill. But if you want to buy the backwards treadmill, I guess that's fine. You should probably go the opposite way, and then you could go forward on the treadmill. But the thing that doesn't really even matter about the tibialis anterior, but kind of is like a picture of the further conversation that always changes as like these conversations are had and nobody actually checks the facts. Or like he talks about how the tibialis anterior muscle is the most important muscle potentially in jumping. It can't be, because it doesn't make you jump, but then that's not discussed. So look at your foot. Okay. It goes from your shin to your foot.
Okay.
How can you jump? By pulling. What would happen if you use this muscle? You pull your foot closer to your knee.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's like I'm jumping with my heel.
How's that going to make you jump? Are you pulling yourself off the ground?
No.
And there's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
have to
we're
generate so
missing
much
basic
force.
anatomy.
Yeah.
By saying the muscle's fine. It definitely helps with walking, but it can't help you jump. But that's like everything, right? That is all of these conversations. Like we're missing one thing, and then we're just fucking out there, and we lost all semblance of reality.
I think people just want the panacea, and they know that the panacea generates views. So it's like if oh dude, I heard about this one podcast where they talk about like the cure to everything. Then everyone's gonna tune in, right? And then they can't say that it's like something that somebody's already said. So they have to find some fucking obscure fucking muscle in the calf and be like, that's the thing now, that's the new thing, because nobody said it before, nobody's capitalized on it yet, so we'll capitalize on it now. So I think that's a lot of the issue. Just like, let's just find the new panacea, let's just find the new snake oil. It's just new snake oil for fucking 2023, 2024. Fuck this timeline.
What do you think's coming?
See, honestly, like, so I was listening to the Lex Friedman podcast with Guillaume Gardon or something like that, some bullshit French name. And
Super French.
He was talking about like what we should do. He's an accelerationist. I'm not a decelerationist. I'm not a status quo type of guy, but I'm also not an accelerationist, because then you're just like forging forth without, just haphazardly, without any caution. So I'm like maybe like a progressive in this space. Like I think we should progress towards AI and technological advancements, but maybe not accelerate like wantonly. That's going to maybe jeopardize, humanity. But he always
seems like the chances of it going really, really wrong are much higher than the chances of it being really okay.
Well, even if it's like a small chance that it goes really, really wrong, like we should be.
Because there's essentially an arms race over AI,
right?
Because whoever gets there first is going to have the most power. Assuming AI doesn't just somehow take over.
And Guillaume's like whole perspective is that it's the capitalism. You listen to the podcast. Capitalism will solve that, because no one will completely take over, because everybody else will continue to try to compete. But that's neither here nor there. But he basically says that what we should do is make AI as smart as possible, as logical as possible, as nuanced as possible, with as much information as possible. Allow it to self-learn, so that all of these missing pieces of information that you mentioned are no longer missing, because it has the information, and it can be the arbiter of good judgment in every respect of life. And it makes sense. It's just terrifying, because if it has that much information, what does it need us for? Why does it need to help us? You know what I mean?
Yeah, why would it want to?
Right.
Would it
It's
want to? Because we programmed it to like, please help us.
We'll pull the plug. Yeah, it's weird. But like, I think that's,
and it seems like if it's so intelligent that it could just manipulate us so easily. I mean, you can see how easily people are manipulated because, I fall for it all the time. I'm like, because I want to eat steak because I like steak and I want to hear that it's good for me. I'm like, oh, it is? Okay. I can eat fucking ribeyes all day? Sweet. That's way better than, cooking spinach and broccoli. Those things don't taste that good.
Yeah.
They're okay.
Yeah, steak's delicious.
Love steak. Yeah.
It's amazing. I was really sad when I got sick, like when I kept eating steak. I was like, God, this sucks. I was like, I'll get better as I keep doing it, and I just never did. But I think that's where we're headed, to answer your question. I think it's just, and I think politicians and the powers that be and the insurance industry and all the regulatory agencies that are all captured by all the big industries and the pharmaceutical industry are going to fight it kicking and screaming, because then they become obsolete. They lose money. Because at the end of the day, like they're just as bad as the grifters. Like money is the root of all evil. So like ultimately anybody that stands to make money off of something is oftentimes going to become corrupted very easily and then stifle progress.
Sure. Yeah.
Everyone's a grifter, though. Everyone is trying to make money because we live in a capitalistic society where you have to have money to function. You could maybe get enough money and then remove yourself from the equation as best as possible, but you still have to have the pursuit of economic growth in order to do so.
How do you feel about narcissism? Because like you mentioned that, and the reason I ask is because I feel like grifters are typically narcissists. I don't think maybe some of them aren't. I don't get narcissistic vibes from Huberman. Maybe he's just been corrupted by like the monetary aspect of what he does. But like, do you think narcissism is like a bane on being able to progress in a healthy way in society? Because I don't think everybody's bad. Like, it's funny. I
just think people like to say, "I told you so."
Oh, this is by the way, this podcast is called Keeping Tabs with the Idealist and the Cynic. I don't think everybody's bad. He thinks everybody's bad.
I don't think that every grift is rooted in narcissism. I think sometimes they're just trying to provide for themselves, and most of the time they do believe in what they're selling. Whether they've had to lie to themselves to get there, I don't know. Like, I genuinely think Paul Saladino thinks what he's saying is true. And I don't think he's doing something because he's intentionally trying to wreck people's lives and be harmful. I think that he actually thinks, maybe because he's misinterpreted a ton of data, but he thinks that eating the way he eats and not putting suntan lotion on or sunscreen on and avoiding broccoli is good for you. Whether or not that's true, who knows exactly, but I don't think he does it maliciously. Is there an element of narcissism to where he likes being right and being like, told you so? Does he want some study to come out that's going to validate his belief system and his hypothesis? Sure, but I don't think it's always rooted in some malicious, narcissistic attempt to fraud people.
And yeah, you can kind of judge based on like what they do, and maybe you're right about him because he practices what he preaches, seemingly. His skin is leathery and red, and he will probably get skin cancer, so he does seem to believe like the shit that he preaches, you know what I mean?
So we dated the same chick, and he's all about like putting like fucking ghee on or butter or something on your skin instead of like sunscreen or deodorant. This chick was like all about what he preached, and she didn't wear deodorant.
Butter.
By putting butter on your skin?
Ghee, first of all, ghee as a health food is a crazy thing. Ghee is just clarified butter.
Yeah, it's just butter.
You boiled butter, you scraped off the solids, you still have butter.
It just has a higher boiling point, right?
A higher smoke point, I think it's if for cooking, people like to sear in it because you can...
Right.
I mean, I use it to sear steak, but not because of health reasons. I just think it's better than canola oil, or olive oil has a low smoke point, so it can mess with the taste. It's more of a taste thing than it is anything for me. But she uses stuff like that, and then we got in my car, and I had like a air freshener thing in there. She's like, "Can we take this out of there?" And we take it out, and all of a sudden I could smell her. And I'm like, "This is what not wearing deodorant does to you. It makes you smell." I mean, it's fine. I mean, I guess you're not putting. I think aluminum's out of most deodorants nowadays, but you smell. She smelled.
Well, sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, well, I think that that's another thing we can be grateful for,
Deodorant.
Dude, it's like 200 years ago. Imagine hitting it from the back, dude. It's like, yeah, like it's probably not a very pleasant experience.
Yeah.
But like, were you used to that? Were you just like, oh yeah, it's just supposed to smell like fucking dog shit and horse shit and rotten eggs and
Maybe
sewage.
maybe you looked forward to that because you knew you were getting laid. As soon as you smelled that smell, you're like, ooh, I'm having sex.
It's like-
it's kind of like when you fart. You like the smell of your own farts because it represents like,
feeling of relief.
yeah, you know, you farted and you typically feel better after you fart, and that smell reminds you of the fact that you just did something that made you feel better.
But then other people's farts are gross.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
I've never smelled another person's fart and been like, glad I smelled that.
It's so weird how that works.
That is
You
crazy.
ever play Taste My Fart?
What?
It's like a thing on the internet.
What's wrong with that?
People like taste my fart, and then they fart, and then the other person tries to guess what they ate. I've never played.
I can't say I've done that.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Would you?
No. Don't think I would.
You're kidding me.
Live,
If
live a little.
a girl you've had a crush on for a long time, I'm not going to mention her name, but you've obsessed over her for a long time. If she came up to you and asked you to smell her fart or taste her fart, you'd be like, no. You're going to play the game.
Just don't tell anybody. You're not telling anybody, you promise?
Yeah.
Pinky promise.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is like everybody has a price, especially if nobody else has to know. So, yeah.
I'm trying to, like, I'm putting myself in that position in my head right now. Like, if she's just like
If you
asked me.
like, if you fucking went down on like some girl you really really liked and it smelled really really bad, you get like, and she's super hot though, like some girl you've just been after for a long time. Are you not seeing her again? I gagged one time.
Oh, dude,
It-
I'm not gonna say the story. I'll tell the story.
I gagged one time. I hit it from behind, and she goes, "Did you just gag?"
Yes.
And I was like, I mean, we had been out drinking all night.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I fucking stink too.
Dude, I hate saying this on camera, but I had the exact same situation, and she just like, I didn't mean to. It was just like there was a lot of things happening down there that didn't usually happen. Like there's some kind of dysbiosis or something, and I did a little bit of and like she goes, "Did you just gag?" And I go, "No." Cause like you know what's gonna happen. It's gonna be a big fight, and it's like, oh my god, like you didn't mean to. It was a fucking physiological response, and she was so angry with me. And like I guess I get it, but like I didn't mean to. It's not like it was like intended. It wasn't an intentional fucking thing that I did.
Yeah.
You ever gagged?
No, man.
Let's bring you into this. Like you're sitting over here like trying to avoid the scary parts.
Yeah. I would have been alarmed as well.
Especially because if they didn't usually smell that way, and then
Yeah.
you're like just going to do the thing that you've done before,
Sure.
and then a new variable has entered the chat.
Yeah.
You didn't expect it.
Yeah.
You should have told her, "I'm drunk."
Well, that's when you gaslight. I wasn't even drunk. I was sober. I was like, if I was drunk, I wouldn't have cared as much. That's when you just gaslight them, and you're just like, you cheated on me. That's why you're different.
Yeah, you got some other guys' pH levels.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about pH levels, but it's probably they're cheating on you.
Are pH levels real? Like, are they just like
as a principle
like is it of chemistry?
I think so.
Okay, cool. Is the
Yeah.
physical world real? Awesome. No, it's just like, does it matter if you drink like an 8 alkaline fucking water or anything else, or is that because I fell for a grift and I have a fucking hydrogen water like fucking
Huberman was spewing about that the other day.
It fucked me up. I can't use it. That actually, I did notice. Like, I was drinking this hydrogen water, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get healthier." And then I just like fell into like a depression, and I was like, "What the fuck?" So I looked it up, and apparently it messes with your gut biome, but it's supposed to be good. But I think it is bad for my gut biome for whatever reason, because I do it and I fall into like a deep depression. And I'm like looking at all the other variables, and I'm like, that's like the only thing I've changed. It's really bizarre.
Don't drink this water, man. To
I
answer
don't
your question, no.
How much that thing cost? How much
water
that-
does not matter. It does not have to be alkaline. Think, okay, if what we drank changed our base pH levels, then like what would happen if we had orange juice? We'd be fucked.
Very acidic. Yeah.
Super acidic. What would happen if you like had some vinegar, a tomato? Like, we're shit out of luck. Funny story though. When I was in high school, I played in this baseball league that was run by a guy that sold alkaline water, and he forced every single player in the league to buy boxes of this water to participate in the league. I drank that shit for years of alkaline water. It felt great. I don't think it changed my pH though.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe there
You
are
got
some
liver
health
and kidney
benefits
for
but
that.
yeah.
I think water's good.
Yo, that's all I drink.
Probably drink water.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some people that just like don't drink any water and then get a ton of kidney stones and they're like I heard a story about a lady who only drank. It wasn't even like anything particularly egregious. I can't remember what it was, but she never drank water. She only drank like soft drinks and things like that.
You've seen people there's people that drink like a 12-pack of soda a day or even diet soda. Like, what's diet? I'm like, you drink 12 of those chemical waters. Like, that can't be good for you.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know what's in there, but I know it can't be good for you.
How much
That's a
water did
lot.
you have?
I've never drank water and been like, man, you know what this needs? I'm like, it's good. Tastes good.
Yeah, that's
Occasionally,
always a weird thing.
I like milk.
Yeah, same.
I like to drink fucking milk.
Same.
I drink water. I drink milk. Those are about the only two things I drink. Occasionally tea.
How weird is that when water tastes bad to people? That
Yeah.
feels like you didn't really evolve right.
One of my first girlfriends ever. She drank Dr. Pepper only. She wouldn't drink water. She's like, I just don't like it. She's like, this doesn't taste good. I'm like, it's water. It tastes like water. It tastes like what you need to live.
You didn't evolve right. That's so funny, but like that's part of the reason why though is like you need it to live, but look at
Like, you can't survive on hot Cheetos and Dr. Pepper.
Well, maybe you can. That's the experiment.
that's
She
just use modern medicine and
Yeah,
modern
yeah.
healthcare to keep you alive in spite of your sickness, in spite of like that, because that's kind of like the goal of like the modern day like industrial complexes is like they want to keep you sick so that they can profit off of your sickness.
How real is metabolism and keeping somebody skinny? Is that real? Like, if you have a good metabolism, are you just able to eat shittier and keep weight off?
I would say there's a certain amount of truth to that. My understanding is that there's some genetic variability. So, like, we all know the dude in college that could eat anything and drink 10 beers and would still be skinny. There's something that came out from Japan earlier this year about this that was kind of fascinating. And they looked at that person you're talking about, like, I have an amazing metabolism as a human being. And they really found that they did have a higher metabolic rate, but they also ate less.
Well, because I eat whatever I want and I don't typically put on weight, but then I think about the portion sizes and I'm like, I'm not actually eating that much. I'm
That was
eating
it.
really poorly, but like, I didn't eat 3 Big Macs. I ate 1 Big Mac.
Exactly.
And then I didn't eat 4 meals that day. I ate maybe 2. One of them happened to be really bad for me. So I wonder about that, because some people are like, oh, you just are lucky because you have a good metabolism. Like, I suppose I do, but I also don't think I overeat like insane. Like, I might eat 1 big meal, but then I won't eat again for fucking 16 hours. And I feel like I've intermittent fast my whole life. Just naturally would just go 12, 14, 15 hours without eating.
I mean, that's why intermittent fasting works, right? You eat less frequently, so you probably eat less. I mean, when you look at the fasting studies, like fasting studies in rats make rats fast for like a fucking week, and then maybe you see like autophagy. But like 16 hours probably shouldn't do it. But you definitely eat less. And you're training yourself probably to not be as hungry during that period of time. So it probably works out pretty well.
At the end of the day, it's just the caloric deficit, right? More than
It
anything
really
else,
is.
probably, right?
Yeah.
And we attribute it to these other things. And that's why, yeah, correlation doesn't always equal causation. And I think that could be like a recurring theme of this podcast is like, we can't just like look at one thing and be like, that's what it is. It's like, there are so many different moving parts and variables that we need to take a look at. And sometimes it's that simple. Right?
People want the
It's
magic
like
pill, though.
walking
They want
backwards on the treadmill.
the
It's
easy
like,
out, the magic pill. Tell me what to eat so I can be in perfect shape. It's like Paul Saladino. He eats what he eats and he looks pretty good. That dude also works out a lot and he's surfing all day and he has like good other habits, so he can probably get away with eating that. If you're just a fat ass sitting on the couch eating ribeyes all day, you might lose weight because you're not putting sugar in, but like the rest, like your heart's not going to be healthy. You're going to miss out on tons of other facets of just overall health that you're going to need to prosper.
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, I think we need to be mindful of not falling into that trap of looking for the silver bullet. Because like the silver bullet is easy. It's just like, it's like walking like the treadmill where you walk backwards. It's like you can use a regular treadmill. It's like it's
You
that's
can
not
literally
the
just
silver
walk
bullet.
backwards. You just
Yeah.
go. You don't have to have a treadmill to walk backwards.
I've tried that. It's difficult in like a
Backwards
small
man.
space like this.
Backwards man is backwards man.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's I think it's fun to speculate about these things. I think it's fun to talk about nuance because it's not sexy. It's not a sexy idea, and it's not one of those.
Because you don't fit into a box when you're nuanced.
Right.
And
hard to capitalize off of nuance.
No, and I get people's frustration with nuance too, because it seems like you're always just like in the middle of everything, and there's like the saying that if you stand in the middle of the road, you get hit from both sides.
That's the weirdest saying to me, because it's like if you can refute any argument with like logic, then that's fine, right? It doesn't matter if you're in the middle, the right, the left, fucking on top. It's like you can be. If you have solid arguments to back up your statement and people can't refute them, then they tend to be more right? And sometimes it's not about being completely right. Sometimes being right is saying, I don't know. Or it's like, I don't know enough. Like the problem is people are always like, I know for sure that this is correct. And it's like, no, you don't. Like, you don't. Like, and I think a little bit of humility and the admission of...
So you know for sure that aliens aren't real?
No, not at all.
What about you,
I would
Brett?
never
You believe
say
in
that.
aliens?
I think it would be naive to think that there's nothing else living out there.
Are they here on Earth?
I don't
Have they
think they
visited?
look like human beings. I have a hard time
Has the
with
government
the conversation,
recovered?
man. Yeah.
Has the government recovered extraterrestrial spacecraft that
I
crashed
bet-
during a lightning storm in the 40s?
I wouldn't be surprised if there's information we have not been told about, but I also would be surprised if they're like along the same time continuum as the Earth. I mean, it would be weird. Like it doesn't take a lot to produce life. Seems like, carbon does pretty well with that. But do they look like Adam? Maybe. That would be crazy.
And not only Earth, but because that's the thing too. It's like, we always like think about aliens as being like bipedal and just kind of looking like humans to some extent, right? But it's like, who's to say that like even carbon? Who's to say that there isn't a way to create some kind of like conscious entity absent carbon that's just like electrons or some photons or something like that, right? Have we advanced scientifically enough to be able to like quantifiably say no, that is not possible, right? Like, who knows? We can't even say with certainty, how far the universe goes or what caused the universe, or if like we like to think that the Big Bang is like the origin of the universe, but what was there before? Like it like it was an infinitesimally dense like piece of matter that just exploded. Well, what created that infinitesimally infinite piece of whatever? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like if you can't answer all the questions, then to say definitively, especially without like reputable scientific studies that have been reviewed by a bunch of other incredibly intelligent minds, that anything is like absolute is to be naive, I feel.
Nah, aliens are real. You're wrong. They're here. You might be an alien.
Maybe that's why I say everything that I do. Maybe that's why I'm just trying to throw you off.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm testing your faith.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I hate when people test my faith.
It's like the dinosaur fossils, right? It's just they're just there to test the faith of God-fearing.
I would join a cult of aliens. If somebody convinced me that they were an alien and they knew things, they could grift me into their cult, I think. Yeah. I want to believe in aliens.
Yeah. And like you're free to believe in whatever you want as long as it doesn't hurt other people, I feel. I think a lot of the time it's just like people want to believe in things that are going to hurt
Does
others.
believing the earth is flat hurt other people?
Kind of. That's a good question. I would say yes.
Because I get really angry at flat earthers. I'm like, who are they hurting?
They're harmless, right? But it's just like, I think it's just the dissemination of stupidity and like the acceptance of it. I think that I sort of have a...
So sort of just propagate other really shitty modes of thought.
Well, just in like like not accepting scientific fact, right? It's like we know the earth isn't flat, right? And every reputable mind since Galileo has known that, right? So it's like, it's very like, it's a detriment to progress for that sort of ideology and that way of thinking to catch fire, I think.
Yeah, it does get in the way of progress. Would that be deceleration?
That's the opposite. Like deceleration is slowing down. Like that's like just straight
Going backwards.
regression. Yeah.
You got to get out of these comment sections.
Dude, I don't. That's probably why I'm not sleeping at night. I was like, I don't know why I can't sleep. It's because I'm fucking arguing with some flat Earth motherfucker about. And I can't even really like. I don't even know the science exactly of how to explain that it's not. I just know that it's not because I trust. I don't know the million of PhD physicists out there that can prove it mathematically.
But they're all just like, according to those people, though, it's the easiest cop out. It's just like, oh, they're all just captured. They're all corrupt, and they're all just like.
Well, when you look at like anything to do with the pandemic, people are like, well, the scientists that know the truth don't want to come out because they'll be scrutinized. And it's like, maybe, or there's just not enough evidence to back it up, so they don't want to make outlandish claims with evidence that's not the greatest thing.
Yeah, same with the election being stolen. It's just like my feelings say it's not the election was stolen. And it's like, oh well, the Trump team brought the case to like 50 different courts, some of which had the judges that he like handpicked appointed, and they all got thrown out as baseless with no like basis in reality. And it's like, no, it was stolen. They're all corrupt, and it's the easiest cop out to just be like, no.
I mean, isn't that the simplicity of conspiracy?
Yeah,
it's that there is a scheme that is against us that is seemingly simple in its plan, when in reality it's probably a complex situation where at the end of the day, I mean, it doesn't feel like a scientist would go home to their family and be like, let's create this. Right. Let's try to make something that isn't real so that we can fuck the world over for 3 years.
Right. And then even like, because there are going to be like cover-ups and everything, but you have to look at the character of the people that are doing the cover-up, right? If it's the government, yeah, it's probably some cover-ups and some conspiracies because they're all corrupted, megalomaniacs. If it's the scientific community, they didn't go into science so that they could be like, the arbiters of information in the world. They went into science because they're curious nerds.
Yeah, and I mean,
have you met a PhD in biophysics? Come on.
Right.
You look at like the scientific method, and it is created to like obstruct from bias, like to make sure that we don't have biases. Let's just look at data and not make assumptions, and then calculate hypotheses from there, I guess. I mean, no, they're all corrupted.
Even with like the government, I think if you separate politicians from people working in the government, like say you work for, I don't know, the Department of Energy. You've been there your entire career and you believe in the mission, and you could have made more money in a private sector job, but you didn't because you thought what you were doing was impactful, and you're not going to lose your job with a change in the presidency or something like that. Why would you be in it for anything but like the greater good? It doesn't make sense. You're not making enough money. If we go back to money, the money's not there. The incentive isn't there.
But I think that's why they're corruptible, is because the money's not there. So I always thought that if you paid government officials more, then you would have more of the better minds and more righteous individuals trying to become politicians and presidents. Because as it stands, you just want, like, you have megalomaniacs going into it for power. But if you pay them more, maybe you can then get scientists and educators and like.
I mean, you could say the same thing for like law enforcement. They want to defund the police. And it's like, yeah, if you don't pay these people any money, what kind of person are you going to attract for that job? Somebody with a poor moral compass and somebody who's unethical and racist and wants to hurt people because they're insecure and angry about their life. So if you pay them more money and you make the vetting process more difficult to become a cop, you'll probably have better law enforcement officers.
Right. And so in terms of politics, it's like the reason why the politicians are so corruptible is because they have bad character. Because they
don't get paid much, and then they have to like grift, and
they don't. I saw something recently. They don't have to. Like, they make enough money to be able to survive just fine. Like Nancy Pelosi, I saw she made as much money in the last 2 months on like a stock trade as she does for her annual salary, and that's one stock trade in 2 months.
I love how that's public record.
Yeah,
and we're just like, no, she's not
Oh, everybody knows.
Dangling the system.
Problem is she creates the laws. Like they create the laws to allow them to do that. And so like with regulatory capture, what happens is, from what I understand, is industry will go in and they'll say, hey, like if you guys can like help us out, look the other way. Like they'll present information that's favorable to them while omitting the bad stuff. It's like, oh, look at how good this is. And it's like, also, if you play ball, like we're gonna have a real cushy job for you once you're out of here. And so it's what they call it, the revolving door. And so you'll see that in the Department of Energy with fossil fuels, and you'll see that with the FDA with, you know, Yum Brands cereals and stuff. And like everybody's just waiting for their, not everybody, like some of them I'm sure have altruistic intentions, but a lot of people are just like waiting for the big payday at the end of it all when they do their service. And, you know, not everything they do is nefarious, but some of the stuff, you know, I'm sure they go home and they justify it and they're just like, oh, it's okay. Like they did tell me there were these good aspects of it, and, you know, and then they get the job and, you know, but like a lot of them are just sociopathic monsters.
I mean, Nancy Pelosi has to be a fucking...
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I don't...
That's a terrible human being.
I don't know, like... I always wonder with those, like, politicians and stuff. It's like Bill Burr said it best. He's like, you know, just keep... Like, Lance Armstrong was a sociopath on a bicycle. But as far as I'm concerned, we had it easy. Just keep him on the bicycle, because he's just a sociopath on a bicycle. Because if he's in charge of the EPA, he's like dumping arsenic into the water supply. And so it's like, you know, as long as you can keep the sociopaths from, you know, killing animals or becoming serial killers, it's like, that's better for everybody, I guess. So
it's kind of back to PT, right? You should ride more bikes. Give bikes away, and I think we'll solve everything.
Yes.
It sounds like.
Yeah.
I actually I rode that like 7.5 weeks after I started PT. It was like I think I saw, usually it's like up to 10 weeks until you could ride it. It was like scary, and if I fell, I was gonna fuck myself up.
It was gonna be a problem.
It was gonna be bad.
I snowboarded with a broken collarbone one time.
That's crazy.
Like 3 weeks after I broke it.
Oh,
I was still in a
man.
sling, and I'm like, I could get down the mountain. I
You
did.
did.
I fucking
You
did.
Sure did.
Was it scary at all?
Ah, yeah. I was like, I gotta get my helmet fixed. So my helmet, like the ear things won't go in. And the other day I was just like, all right, fuck it. I don't want music, but I wanted to wear my helmet, but I can't get like the ear guards in the helmet. And I'm like, well, I don't want my ears to be fucking cold, and you can't put a beanie under your helmet. So I just like wasn't wearing a helmet the last 2 times I rode.
I was wondering why.
I mean, I'm pretty confident on a snowboard, but I don't wear a helmet because my skill level is not high. I wear it because what if some idiot just runs into me? Some
Right.
fucking skier in a Huskers jacket and jeans just fucking plows into me while I'm, you know, doing my thing because he's out of control.
Do you snowboard or ski?
I try to snowboard.
Nice.
Yeah.
When you say try, how many times have you gone up? How many seasons past? Like,
This will be 3 seasons now. I've gone 12 times, so almost making the money back.
I've gone about 3 seasons as well. I just started recently.
Let's go, man.
Also, let's do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's really good. So he's actually been able to get me going down the mountain pretty quickly, like about as quick as like some of our other friends who've been.
You've learned,
boarding.
yeah, you've reached or surpassed a lot of people that have been snowboarding a lot longer than you.
And the only reason why is because like when you see somebody just like, do you go with other people? That are
I
pretty
do,
good?
yeah.
Are they pretty good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it definitely goes such a long way just to see what they're doing. Like, oh, I did not do that.
And you feel
Wow.
When you get bad habits when you're learning, and then you could take lessons, but like you're getting lessons from a 19-year-old dude who drank 27 Keystone Lights last night and smoked a whole, you know, half ounce of weed this morning. Like he might not care that much about how good you get. He's just making a buck.
And your friends want you to go down the mountain with them. So it's like they're going to be like, okay, you know, try this. And then you have questions and they have feedback. And then also it's like there's a part of it where you learn like kind of as much as you can without them like, you know, analyzing and dissecting every little single thing you do. And then you see them go fast down the mountain and you're like, I have to keep up with them. And so you get brave and you go.
When you learn like a lot about snowboarding is learning like which trails to take and why, and how, like what part of the run to be on, and how to stay sometimes on the high side of the mountain because people will just naturally funnel down to the bottom, and that's where it gets crowded and like people get hit. There's just like little things that you can pick up when you go with somebody who knows what they're doing. That is nice. I mean, that's how I learned, is going with people that were 10 years older than me when I first started. I was like 11 snowboarding with like 25-year-olds, and I was just like trying to like keep up with these guys that were like better than me because none of my friends snowboarded yet, or they skied, and that I just wanted to learn. But it took me a lot longer to. It took me probably 5 years to get where you are in like one, because I didn't have a teacher for the beginning. It was just like me teaching myself.
You're also 11.
Yeah, but
I hope I can beat 11-year-olds at a lot of shit.
yeah, but when you're 11, you learn quickly. Then you remember
Fearless,
learning things.
too.
Yeah, and like dude,
Man.
it's like the older I get. Like I was talking to my mom's in her 60s, and we went. She skis, but we went on Monday. We were just talking about your risk aversion gets a lot higher. You know, I'm like, I could do that. Like we were on these like really steep blues on the backs. Like Keystone opened up a new bowl. We went back there, and there's some like really steep terrain. 10 years ago, I would have just been bombing down that. And I got myself speed checking. I'm like, I don't need to fall. I also didn't have my helmet on. I'm just like, I could go a lot faster. Like, but there's no need. I'm like, what am I trying to impress my mom? Like, she doesn't give a shit what I'm doing. Like,
Yeah, the guy snowboarding without a helmet is the same guy who won't fly.
yeah, fuck you, dude. I'm getting you know what you don't want in here.
Yeah.
You know I'm part of this OCD bipolar mess.
No, that video you sent me the other day was pretty enlightening. It made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
OCD. I was gonna ask you. Oh yeah, so you're snowboarding now. You're doing the thing that you see a lot in the PT. Does it ever make you does it make you like more cautious just having seen like some of the injuries that people have sustained?
100%, man. Yeah. I always consider like every morning when I'm about to get in the car and I'm going to go do this crazy thing, even though when you watch me do it, it's not a crazy thing. I worry about what Monday could look like if I didn't have the function of two arms. I mean, that's generally the worry on a snowboard. Like, you see a lot of shoulder dislocations.
I broke my collarbone snowboarding. Doing nothing on a catwalk.
Yeah,
I don't even remember what happened. I was just like doing a little butter thing, like messing around with with my brother and a friend. Just caught a weird edge and just slammed. And I knew I broke it right away. I was like, I think the third time I broke it, and I was like, fuck. I'm like, really? Just like doing something dumb. No, I wasn't, I've hit huge jumps, done crazy things. And I'm like, I broke it on the catwalk 7 feet from the fucking gondola.
How'd you do that? Hit a patch of ice?
Dude, I was literally just doing like you see the guys like doing like little butters and stuff on like Instagram all the time. I was doing something like that. I mean, this is 15 years ago, but I was just messing around, just having a good time, just going slow. It was kind of like, it was the end of the season. It was kind of slushy even. Just hit a weird edge, and just like the way I fell on it, just all the pressure. And this right one I've broken 3 times. So I think I don't know if it's just weak or something, but.
Can you get surgery on a collarbone? Because
you do if it's bad. I was supposed to have surgery the first time, and then just didn't. My parents didn't like want to do the surgery, and it like kind of healed, but it's I mean, I was actually just looking in the mirror the other day. My shoulders are pretty fucked up, and the range of motion on this right one is so much worse than the left one.
Is there anything he could do for that, or is he fucked? Since he's broken it 3 times, and it's just like it healed all fucking weird.
I mean, I think you could probably push into that range of motion and see as far as you could get. But man, I wonder with a clavicle injury like that. So you do surgery if, this is the bone and now this is the bone. So it's displaced a certain amount. And then you'll put some, screws in there to straighten that out to allow for that healing. Typically, if it's just like a simple fracture and it just like cracked here, that will heal up pretty easily. The collarbone definitely limits that overhead range of motion. You get this rotational component, especially when you're overhead. And so that's probably the limitation that he has. But I would say at this point, just push into it. What's going to happen? Worst case, you don't get full range and you're sore.
I still have decent range for breaking it as many times as I have. All doing really fun things.
It was worth it.
Yeah, every collarbone injury was a fun one. ATV.
Sure.
He jinxed me. Before we went out and rode ATVs, I think you sent me a post about how many people die on ATVs a year.
What?
You did. I was in Arizona that day.
Really?
I guess it was hilarious because this is back when I had Snapchat for like a month. And I remember at the beginning, people were cracking up at my Snapchat because it was me just doing donuts in the fucking desert on an ATV. And the next second, I'm just in the ER. That was a bad one. That collarbone sucked. That was the last one I did. And I was older. When you're younger, the injuries don't seem to like last as long, or they heal fast, or you just don't notice. I was old. That one sucked. I couldn't take my shirt off. My mom came over and cut my shirt off a couple times because I couldn't get it off. You're just stuck like this.
God.
Luckily, I could play online poker, so I just sat on the couch like this for like 3 weeks. Played online poker and binged some stuff, but collarbones that's not a fun one.
Even recovering from the shoulder, it was very difficult to put the shirt on and off. Yeah, it was like I was borderline a couple times where I was just like, I'm just gonna have to keep the shirt on until I recover. Like,
broken arms, at least you can kind of move your arm, and it's in a cast. You can't put this in a cast. So you're just in a sling, and then, I mean, it took me. I couldn't do a dip for 8 months, like not a full proper dip.
I've read that dips are bad for like after you've gotten a labrum repaired. So I don't do dips anymore. There's plenty of other like tricep exercises I can do, but I wonder if like a lot of the exercises I was doing kind of contributed to a weakness in the labrum, or if it's just genetics, because this one's torn too. I think I was telling you that. I was like, you might see me again.
Are dips bad for you?
I like a dip, but I think you do get a lot of stress anteriorly, so forward on that shoulder joint.
I do dips a lot.
Yeah,
I have like the dip bars even in my apartment. Yeah,
I missed the dip.
It's good for your it uses your chest and your triceps. I feel like I like it. I feel good when I do them.
Yeah, keep doing them. Oftentimes I think exercises aren't good or bad. They're just like misdosed or done in a weird way.
Our deadlift's bad.
I love a deadlift, man. Yeah, I give them to people all the time, from like 20-year-olds to 80-year-olds. I think you don't have to go try to lift 4 plates.
Yeah, I don't. Anyway, I deadlift, but I do very low weight just because the few times I've kind of pushed it, you could feel like if my form's not good, I'm going to fuck something up. Don't want to.
It seems like one of the most dangerous like exercises in terms of fucking up your lower back. Is that right? If you're just not doing it right, you're doing too much weight, getting a little ego.
I just think that deadlifts are the movements that people then attribute to an injury. I don't know. I think a deadlift is a great movement, but back to like if you're not doing the basics right, you're probably putting a lot of stress on your back. A certain amount of stress creates adaptation, right? Like that's why you're lifting weights. But if you do too much, you might get hurt. So I think they get a bad rap, but can be a really effective movement. Yeah.
All right. Top 5 favorite movements. If you had to pick 5 workouts, you can only do 5 for the rest of your life.
Nice. Like personally, my favorite movements to do, or like just I'm going for myself.
If you're going for yourself,
what do I like doing? I love a pull up. Feels good. I like anything.
You're doing wide, different grips.
I have this weird thing in my left wrist. I can't figure it out, where if the bar is too narrow and my grip's too narrow, it feels like my wrist explodes. And so I don't do it narrow, but it's not because it's bad. I would love to do it narrow. Just the bar that I use does not allow for the feeling of not having my wrist explode to happen when I'm doing the deadlift or doing the pull-up. So pull-ups, for sure. I love a bench press. It's, again, fun. I don't really care what form you do.
Incline, decline, flat.
I guess number 1 for me would be like an incline dumbbell, but I do flat barbell a lot because I suck at it, and I think you should do what you suck at. And
fair.
It's hard for me. I like a traditional deadlift. Some people love a hex bar. Some people love like a sumo, like a wide stance deadlift. I have weirdly long legs for being 5'10", so I can like get into a position where I don't have to move that much with like a traditional deadlift. I'd say a curl. You gotta love a pump.
I love curls. Yeah.
And I want to fight any conversation about like functionality.
You doing dumbbell curls?
I'm doing dumbbell curls
all
man.
Day.
Yeah, at the end of a workout for sure.
At the end?
Yeah, it's your dessert, you know? It's fun.
All right.
You wanted one more though.
We got pull-ups,
deadlift,
curls,
bench, barbell bench, dumbbell bench. We'll call it that. For the fun of it, like for an enjoyable exercise, I think any tricep exercise on a cable tower, just like a strict tricep press down.
Those are my favorites.
I like a straight bar instead of the rope. The rope feels always like weird.
Yeah, it does.
You always have like 2/3 on one side and you're doing this thing.
Especially if you go to a community gym where it's all like worn out, like you can see people holding it.
Somebody worked that.
Kind of grosses me out a little bit.
It's a little wet.
Yeah.
Why is it always wet? There you go. That's
Rope
top
fibers.
5. Are they the best exercises for anybody? No, probably not. But this was personal. This is what I enjoy doing.
We're gonna edit out all of that part, and we're just gonna say top 5 exercises by an expert.
Yeah. That's what it should be. You need biceps that are strong, and you should deadlift as much weight as possible 100% of the time. You shouldn't warm up. You should go straight into it. And honestly, like, don't even load that bar symmetrically. You toss 3 plates on one side, 2 on the other, and you see what happens. That's the recommendation. Yeah.
As long as you oscillate and then move it to the other side.
You flip around.
Yeah.
Each one.
See, the key to getting smart is when you learn a new word to use it.
Oscillation.
Yeah.
Especially if you can do it completely out of context. Yeah, no, that was hilarious. Yeah, no, it's asymmetry is going to be like the new grift in 2024.
Yeah.
Like, dude, if you really want to work out, like,
Dude, I'm not even kidding. I think I saw a post of somebody doing something where they're carrying something like different on one side up a hill and then the other side.
it's good for your back.
There's a Hawaiian dude who does that. God, what's his name?
Is he the older
Bill,
guy?
Yeah, older guy.
Yeah, but he's fucking ripped.
Bill something. Bill Maeda or something
Yeah,
like that.
I've seen
He
his
is
stuff.
Unbelievable. He does crazy shit, but it kind of goes to show, like, form matters for performance, but, like, can anybody say that you could have good form in what he's doing? He's like picking up a barbell, throwing it overhead, spinning around, and dropping it with one arm. Like, what's the form for that? And he did it without getting hurt, probably because he's done it at a lighter weight and then practiced it.
Yeah.
Like, that's all that it takes. At some point, you might fail, but it is the progression of it that truly does matter.
A lot of this shit is just like practice and habit, right? Because if you're practicing something that nobody does and you can do it really well without getting injured, but it's unorthodox, and that's great. But, like, maybe you shouldn't suggest it to other people. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but you want views on Instagram. And if that's what you're trying to get, do some weird shit. Have you seen the fork in the toaster trend?
oh yes,
What?
People are sticking forks in toasters.
For what reason?
Just to fucking do it. They literally like have rubber gloves on, and then they're holding a toaster, and they're just like, it just like explodes on camera, and it gets lots of views.
well, one guy wasn't.
I guess it's
wearing
probably
gloves.
similar to like
The one that, like, pooped his pants or something. He, like, put it in 2 toasters. It, like, explodes him backwards, and then, like, in the one, because the frames get all fucked up, and then in, like, one of the frames you can see, like, he's got, like, a little, like, wet spot because his legs are up here because he just flew backwards.
Oh, he got shocked.
Yeah.
Wow, this is not my algorithm. Damn.
I think somebody might have put that in the group chat. Maybe that's why we both saw it, because it seems kind of obscure. But
What is your algorithm? Because, like, I get puppies and snowboarding, and the occasional, like, my
Yeah.
friends will send me that shit, and then my algorithm gets all messed up.
A lot of dogs, a lot of fitness and PT, because I click on too much of that shit. Lot of dogs. For
Yeah, dogs
a
are the
long
best.
time, it was a lot of dogs nuts, which was fucking hilarious. I have no idea why. Like,
just like dogs with big balls.
we've all seen the video of the dog that's like sleeping on the other dog's nut.
Yeah.
But it was that as an algorithm, and there is so much content.
I feel like that's a good like first date question. Like, let me see your algorithm. Like, if I can
Yes.
if I could scroll through your algorithm for like 30 posts, I might have a pretty good idea of what I'm getting into and how unhinged or balanced of a person you are.
That's
but then
actually
they'd have to do that to mine, and I might, because it depends. Because sometimes my algorithm's like real pure. It can just be a lot of dogs, maybe some golf, some snowboarding.
I can see yours just being, like, hot chicks. Just tons of hot chicks.
Sometimes the problem is like if I stop on like if every once in a while like it won't be hot chicks, but then like one really hot one will come, and then I'll just like stop on it for a second, and then I'll get into the comments to see like something, and then I'll notice like the next like 6 posts are like hot chicks. I'm like, God damn it! Like, I want to see it, but not really. It can't be good for your health, mental health especially, just to see things that aren't real for the most part. Like, that's not real.
It's not great.
No, the dogs are real. I've seen dogs do all those things. I've never seen a hot chick like that fucking in my life.
You're not like dreaming of that dog.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not an envious
Yeah.
place to be in.
I don't see a cute dog and then compare it to my dog. Like, fuck.
God, you fucking suck.
Yeah. I've never just like rolled over in bed and saw my dog and been like, you don't do any of that shit. You're not hot. You're not supportive. What the hell?
Yeah. That's awesome.
Well, guys, that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
That was a good time.
Anything you want to add, Brett, before we go? Do you want to plug your PT stuff? Can people reach
did you ever start your own business?
I never did, man. Yeah,
Damn.
I'm still at Atlas, right downtown. People can absolutely reach out and schedule. We take all insurances, and I mean, insurance is like the bane to our existence, but it's how I get paid. So you can take that or leave it.
Do you guys take cash too?
We do take cash.
I thought so. I thought I remembered hearing that. Yeah, that's awesome. So
How many cash payments do you think you get a week?
If I see 100 people, I probably get 10.
Okay.
It's a lot of insurance. All right, if you had surgery and you spent $5,000, you're using your insurance.
Of course.
You have to.
Yeah.
Like the math never makes sense. If you meet your deductible, like, come on.
really quickly before we go,
Yeah.
what's the dumbest like injury that you've seen? Like, is there just one that stands out to you? A, that's really dumb. Like, how did this even happen? And B, one that you're just like, why are you even getting PT on this? So it's like two different questions, I guess. And like, if you can't think of any, that's fine. But
No, I can definitely come up with some good ones. One of my favorites was a guy that was riding a scooter home, drunk, carrying a pizza, and he did not see the curb, and he smoked that curb.
Oh.
He hit the shit out of his face, AC joint separation, the whole deal. Lost the pizza.
Worst part.
Oh man, he had like amnesia. It was a whole deal. Like, not to make light out of a traumatic brain injury, but you know, it was a decision gone.
You know what's funny is we ride those scooters all the time, but they did not exist when we used to drink. Thank God.
Yeah.
Because if they did, I would have ridden them every single time because it's a ton of fun, and I would have done the dumbest. I mean, we've taken them off, 4 or 5 stairs.
Holy.
Did you have a video of it?
yeah,
See if you got to put that video on the.
yeah, I'll put this on the podcast.
It's not that gnarly, but it's actually pretty fucking terrifying. It took us quite a bit of hyping each other up to finally go off that thing. I probably ran up to it 4 or 5 times before I finally sent it.
Usually he does those things first. I did it first this time.
I'm gonna send that
Because I
one
was
that
like,
you
looks
said.
good.
I'm gonna send the one that's in that same complex,
Yeah.
that same like industrial complex that you said I couldn't send. As long as I could find it.
He's gonna die.
No,
it's like
I
a
could do
7
it.
Stair. It's like retarded.
No,
You're wearing a
after we
beanie
were
for this too.
no helmet, no,
I mean, but you got to pad it a little bit, right?
no.
Yeah.
If I hit my head, I want the full traumatic brain injury.
Because I was just thinking like, okay, like worst case scenario, like I dislocate a shoulder, I destroyed like a bone or like a hip or something like that, and I got a guy who could help me rehab it. It's all good.
If it weren't for
we
people
could,
like us,
like-
you'd be out of business.
You know, I know you don't drink, but I was gonna say we could grab a beer and not have you break your hip.
I'll break stuff if I drink, probably.
No.
I broke
Not
it.
advocating for you drinking.
I've broken ribs drinking. I'd like tried to jump
I've
off.
knocked out teeth.
Oh man.
Yeah. Have you ever had any injuries?
Yeah, I had a shoulder injury earlier this year that fucking sucked. I probably like frayed this labrum. It's good to go now.
I got the same. This one's just a fray.
Yeah, I mean it hurts sometimes, right? Like it'll bug you if you do something dumb, but that's all right.
Yeah, and like I noticed, yeah, as long as you can get your sleep right, because sometimes you sleep funny and you wake up and like it'll hurt for like a week. But like this one's been torn since I tore it on the golf course. One time I was throwing a fit. And
Wait, what?
yeah, I never do that. So it's like I was on the golf course and we were on like hole 18. I can't remember. I think it was Todd Creek. No, it wasn't Todd Creek. Colorado National, something up north. Anyway, and like I hit the shot stupid or something like that. And I got frustrated and I like hit the club on the ground, but it was like really awkward and it caught the ground. The club caught the ground really weird, and I just felt like I didn't know what that was until like years later, and I was like, oh, that's also a labrum.
You know, it's funny. All of my golf injuries have happened from me being angry after a shot. Never like during the shot. Remember when I cut my hand really bad?
Oh, he's bleeding. Bleeding all over the golf course.
I thought I was going to fight that old guy. I snapped the club and I'm bleeding. And he goes, what lesson did you learn? And I was like, you motherfucker. I was like bleeding over. I was like wearing white pants that day. And he's like, shouldn't have done that. It's pretty dumb, huh? And now you're bleeding and cut yourself. And I was like, do you want me to stab you with this broken shaft? Because I will.
It's really
You know
sharp.
what's hilarious though? Every time I do something like that, I tend to proceed to play very well.
Okay.
When we were in we were in Florida on this like beautiful golf course on the Keys, and I broke 3 clubs on one hole.
Biscayne.
Biscayne Key. I for sure broke 2 clubs and threw one in the lake, and then I shot like 4 over after that.
It was amazing too, because like it was so casual, and Miles was so confused. Our buddy was so confused at how casual he was about breaking these clubs, because he like hit one and he's just like real frustrated. And it's just like slicing, or it's like he's topping it.
I couldn't get it over water on like 100-yard par 3.
So he goes back, it's a new ball, same thing, goes back, it's another ball, and he's just like, you can see it like building up, and he's getting real angry. And then one he tries to hit, and he just goes, and it just like snaps, and like Miles is just like he couldn't fathom the idea of someone breaking a golf club. And then Kyle comes back and he tries to hit it again, snaps another one, and then he comes back, he hits it again, he goes, that's how you do it. And it's just like walks off. And then he played really well without like -2 clubs. So anytime he was, and it was funny because they were like, it was like the 7 and the 8 or something like that. So it's like a 40-yard range between clubs now. So anytime he's like in that middle range, just like I'm either going to be really short or really far.
Fuck golf.
It was super
Dumbest
funny.
sport of all time.
You golf or anything?
I wish I could. Sometimes I was a baseball player, and like if you don't golf as a baseball player, it's rough.
Totally get it.
It looks good, but like it does not go straight.
Yeah.
It's
We got a buddy
tough
like
sport,
that.
man.
We got a baseball player buddy and just
Yeah, there it goes.
Swings as hard as he can every time.
The idea of
Hasn't
being
hit a fairway
outside in the
once.
summer like that sounds great.
that's why we
I took my golf clubs to Austin, and I'm planning on playing a little bit when I get back, maybe trying to get back into it. But then I'll just hate myself again. It's the dumbest sport. I think that's a conspiracy. Like they just tell you to just hit down. Just hit down on the ball, and then it goes up. You hit down, and it goes up. That doesn't make any fucking sense. You're just lying to me because you want to gatekeep how to actually play. You're just fucking lying.
Yeah, it makes sense. It goes against all logic, legitimately. But so like just really quickly going back to the other question, have you seen anything like from somebody that had a really dumb, like, you don't need a rehab from this. Like, why are you here?
Oh, all the time. Yeah.
And people are just faking it.
I've seen kids fake it. Like your classic like 14-year-old with a crazy dad who's like yelling and screaming and in the room telling you all this shit, and you're like, I don't think you actually want to do this, huh? You didn't want to play soccer at all.
Yeah.
But that's probably the only case. Like typically people don't fake unless it's like a secondary gain type thing in like a workers' comp situation. Like
I was just curious if you ever see
know.
that, basically like this person's.
Oh, for sure. I had this guy once who he walked in totally normally. He was I think he got hit on a scooter, and he was like suing the person that hit him, and he was clearly trying to make some money off it. And so he walks in, and like I watch people walk in to see what's going on, and I have him like walk back to the room, and then when we start the assessment process, I'm like, all right, walk to that mirror, and he like starts pulling out this ridiculous limp and like talks about how he can't stand on his one foot that hurts, and then he's like flip-flopping feet, shit like that. Like
Forgot
you,
which one.
you gotta like practice your story.
Yeah, at least
Like, this is not that hard. So yes, definitely.
So if I want to commit fraud and workman's comp, just make sure I have all my bases covered. Just walk in with a limp. Make sure I'm walking into the building with a limp.
Yeah, it's got to make more sense. You know?
Okay.
Like I'm not out here trying to call people liars. Like why would I care? It doesn't matter to me. I'm gonna see somebody in like 15 minutes, but yeah, like make it make sense. You know.
Yeah,
Right.
just walk in normally.
Just in case this podcast never works out, I got to make sure I have my next grift.
Oh no, don't worry about
Different
it.
place.
Like right when you said that, I'm gonna have a flashing sign, and I'm not kidding, above you that says insurance fraud.
I've committed insurance fraud.
Did you get a chance to look at the edits I made in the other one?
No,
They're cool.
I will.
Anyway, all right, Brett. It's been
Appreciate
awesome. That's Atlas Physical Therapy. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's it, man. Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. That was fun.
About a year and a half, we were talking about like things we were gonna do. You were talking about the business. I was talking about the podcast. Took me a year and a half to finally like get it going, but man, the business is never too late.
Never too late. We'll see if I have my own location at some point. It's definitely a hard business to initiate, I would say, and I'm pretty happy with where I'm at right now. But
Awesome.
yeah, I'll keep you in the loop for sure.
Right on. All right. Well, which one is? I always press the wrong one.
Drip it.
Nice.
All right. Sweet.